All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, wonderful people. How are y'all feeling this morning? You locked in with Live a Split Screen. Look, I know we didn't get a chance to go backstage and welcome all the wonderful people that got here early. But my week's been kind of crazy, you know. Seeing the bro off into the Air Force has been quite a journey, and I've been quite out of the loop. So, you know, we wanted to make sure to get a little caught up behind the scenes with my brother from another. So before we went live, but I think we got some interesting things to talk about this week, especially with the PlayStation Showcase. I think that's going to be a main talking point, along with Starfield, because it's seemingly more and more people are still. I mean, I did see that the score on Starfield has decreased again. So again, I mean, I do feel like there's still an ever evolving conversation to have about the game. And I think we'll touch on some of those things. I think Pong will bring some interesting points for us to touch on here. He had some smoke yesterday and also on Thursdays PM to PM that I found extremely interesting. So I think we'll see if we can bring some of those feelings right back on up. But yeah, I'm one of your hosts, Steel Rain. That T is a 7. So you can find me anywhere. Google's probably the easiest place. But like I said in the beginning, you're locked in with Live a Split Screen, a non-console centric platform covering everything going on within the gaming industry. We'll see how good of a coverage we do this week, but I think we'll do pretty well. We usually do. We're off the cuff. It's not like we plan anything anyway, typically. So we'll get in here and really give that energy to you guys, and hopefully we can fuel your Saturday morning so you'll have that energy to kind of either push through or maybe relax a little bit from a rough week. So I gotta introduce you guys to the uncanny gentleman himself, the X-Men who is not Cyclops, by the way, but I heard he was talking to Kitty Pryde too. You know, Jean Grey was a fun time, but I don't know. I heard some rumors about Kitty, man, and I don't know.
Whoa.
But nonetheless, my brother from another, the one and only Pong. So, what's going on, bro? How you feeling?
I'm doing good. If you guys hear any craziness, it's because the grandkids are over this morning, so they just got here. So if you guys do hear any screaming, nobody is getting killed. It was just a couple nearly year and a half, 2-year-old kids now running around being crazy as they want to do. So but other than that, what a week. Still great to finally hear your voice, sir, as I've not spoken to you all week at all. You know, again, we do have a lot of stuff to get into. It was a good week. You know, just Nintendo and PlayStation having a showcase on the same day was kind of crazy. That was kind of cool. You know, and again, we'll talk about each one. I don't hate the PlayStation 1 as much as some Xbox people do at all. I thought it was decent. Again, not anything magical, but we'll talk about that. The Nintendo Showcase had some cool little things in there, not things that everybody's going to be excited about, but there was a couple things in there that are not just Nintendo games, but Nintendo doing their thing, basically dropping the boatload before everything that they've had in development prior to announcing Switch 2. That's what this feels like this year. Nintendo's having a hell of a year. Anyways, other than that, my week, of course, has been Starfield. That's what I've been doing as usual. Boom. Right? This is my new thing. Boom in the house. What's going on, Boom? I'm over 100 hours in, Steel.
Nice.
I am now over 100 hours in. I have yet to do any main quest line stories, except for obviously getting to Constellation. That was it. Everybody's still back at the lodge waiting for me to show back up again to start figuring out what the meaning of life is. And I've still not done any faction quests whatsoever, outside of the opening one for Crimson Fleet, just to be able to meet them. I have continued my pirate journey, my ship building journey, and my planet exploration journey. I've been doing some of the mission board quests, right? The little stuff. I've been hitting those. Otherwise, I have been getting into massive dogfights. I have been exploring derelict space stations. I have been planet side, getting into a bunch of nonsense in random areas. I am still finding randomly generated content that I have not seen after all this time, planet side. I came across it's in the middle of this frozen planet Steel. I had just got done killing a Crimson Fleet captain or whatever, one of those missions.
Right.
I had just gotten done doing that. I was going to take off and go back to dogfighting again because I've been really working on dogfighting and there's a lot of experience to be gained in dogfighting. A lot of easy experience.
Now, I do want to kind of preface that, and I know hopefully you don't lose your thought on that, but I do want to kind of preface that because you are playing the game a bit differently. Because I hear a lot of people complaining about there not being a lot of things going on in space, right? Where you have become kind of like a mercenary or just you're a space pirate yourself, right? So since you're beefing with multiple people, multiple factions, you know, you're really getting it in, kind of playing that evil role, you are getting more of that going on because of that, right? So I just wanted to kind of preface that for some people because some people may say that, oh, Palm's out here lying, there's nothing out here, but it's like because of the way that he's playing the game, of course you might have a different experience if you aren't beefing with these multiple factions and got people chasing you and whatnot. So outside of the wanted perk that you get to, so. Yeah,
exactly. So I got bounty hunters constantly after me, right, Steel, because I've got the wanted perk, right? They show up on a consistent basis out in space. So I've got bounty hunters. Then I've got bounty hunter defenders.
Oh, wow.
Which show up to they actually will attack the bounty hunters that are attacking me, even though they themselves are bounty hunters. They show up and help me, quote unquote, because they want me to live longer, because the longer I live, the higher my bounty goes. Okay. So that's a sub faction of bounty hunters.
That's kind of cool.
Right. So after we get done killing the regular bounty hunters, then those dudes hail me and they're like, glad to see you made it a little bit longer. Glad we could help you out. The bounty gets higher. We'll be back for your head at some point, right? They do all this talking. Well, then I can attack them. So then I get into another dogfight with them, right? So I got bounty hunters, I got bounty hunter defenders, I got spacers, right? Spacers are my enemies. Crimson Fleet, obviously, enemies.
Okay.
And then I am also, because I turned down the undercover quest, right? UC System Defense Force is my enemy. So I can show up in a system, UC System Defense and Crimson Fleet can be fighting each other, and I walk into a major battle, I can shoot everybody without getting bounties because UC System Defense is my enemy.
Right.
So I can go after everybody. So I can walk into battle. I've had battles of 8+ ships going on that I walk into, and I can take out whoever the hell I want to in that battle.
It's kind of dope.
It's fantastic. So yeah, I am experiencing it. I could see how if you are playing the good role, if you are playing the law role, where you won't necessarily, you're still going to come across things, but you won't have the same opportunities I do being a full-fledged just space pirate. No holds barred. Whoever's there is getting attacked, right? So yeah, that is a little bit different, but I've been finding so much other stuff in space, again, whether it's just floating cargo from some blown up ship or some ship that had to jettison their cargo randomly, to derelict spaceships, obviously, space stations, to, whatever I'm finding out. I'm finding traders, all that kind of stuff just randomly shows up, and you can attack some of those people if you're a pirate, right? So I have action constantly in space. So I've been doing that. The one thing I was going to talk about before we got off on the side was I'm still coming across, I've spent a lot of time on planet side as well. I'm still coming across random generated stuff that I haven't seen before. Yes, the fact is, and I talked about this a couple weeks ago early on, was I understood where people are coming from as far as saying, oh, if you come across like the abandoned robotics lab, right? They do like basically have one schematic for that lab. So every time you find one of those, it's the same. And I talked about this Steel with you when I was in live chat with you when I was going through, and I told you that it was set up exactly the same. The enemy levels will differ. The enemy types can differ, but they are set up exactly the same. And if people want to criticize that, that's fair criticism. I would have liked to have, give me like 3 different versions of that place, right? Give me like 3 different versions, whatever the case may be. But it is what it is. I still don't mind it. I still have a fun time going through it, especially now that I know these places. Like, I have a great time finding new ways around. But I did come across Steel. I was on this frozen planet, and I just got done with one of these side missions, and I was going to take off and I was going to go back, but I decided, I was like, nah, I'm going to explore a little bit. I want to stay planetside here. I'm going to go explore and see what I can find out here. So I was roaming around randomly on this planet. And I was out in the middle of nowhere. I was headed towards a structure, but I was like only halfway there. So I'm jetpacking along, whatever else. I found a cave. Cool. Went in the cave, collected a bunch of resources and stuff, came out and started off again, like 200 more meters. All of a sudden, there's just some random person out in the middle of this freaking frozen rock, Steel. And I'm like, what is this random person doing? This random person was standing on a rock, a small rock pile. You can find rock piles like in caves and stuff, you know, and they've got some resources. And I'm like, what is this random person doing? And so I scanned, brought my scanner to see if it was enemy or if it was friend. Well, it didn't pop up red, and it said deep space miner or something like that, or explorer miner or something like that, or mining miner, I think is what it, because I was laughing because they said deep space mining miner. I was like, okay, Bethesda. So I walk up to this person and she turns on me and she's like, I found this rock pile first. This is mine. Stop trying to take it or I'll kill you. I'm like, you're in the middle of a frozen planet. Oh, okay. Of course, me being the pirate, I'm like, there's nobody around. And so I responded to her and I'm like, the pile's mine. Sure enough, she pulls out her mining laser and she starts zapping me with it. So I obviously killed her. This rock pile, bro, had like 15 different items in it.
Oh, wow.
Like, I got ammo, I got resources, I got a weapon out of this. It was like a treasure chest, basically, is what it was, right? It was like a treasure chest out of Skyrim, like a random treasure chest. But I had never seen that specific situation before. So I'm still finding things that I haven't seen before after 100 hours. So that's the good part. The shipbuilding has become my addiction, Steel.
Okay.
Got into it? Yeah. I put, now that it's Legos for adults for me.
Yeah.
Right now that I understand it better and I have a good grasp. I know some people think it's very clunky and they obviously don't explain everything to you. And there's still head scratching moments for me. But like, I'm like, why does that not work? Like, what's the thought process behind why I can't do that? But I have got a very good grasp of it now. And I'm not trying to build like you and Jasper and all these people making these amazing creations based on, stuff we've seen in movies or real life stuff. I'm doing it from just imagination and just kind of taking where it went. And I posted my video of my ship. And granted, now I've built 2 because I started another one last night, but I really only built the one. But as I continued to evolve my ship that started out as a simple Class A Ghost, a Crimson Fleet Ghost fighter, and now it's a full-fledged C-class warship.
Oh, nice.
I have learned a lot, and my design, being unknowing to me, because I had no thought in this, turned my ship into what looks like a bee, a wasp. It literally does from the top because I put some wings on the side. And I looked at that. I was like fooling around with it. I was like putting things together. And I'm like, what is this reminding me of? I've even got 6 legs now, Steel. And I was like, what am I making here? I'm like, what am I doing? And I flipped it and I went over the top of it. I looked down and I'm like, I created a freaking wasp. What the hell is this thing, man? I'm like, this is insane. It looks like it. So then I kind of leaned into it and kind of colored the wings white instead of the black. So they kind of show up. But that's the stuff that that I'm finding as I'm shipbuilding and how to put things together. And now, like I said, last night I actually started a new one, and let's just say I'll share pictures when I'm done. I'm not going to be done for a while because I got to get some more money together. But let's just say that suddenly, for no reason, because I have never worked on a farm. I don't own farms. I've never grew up on a farm. Right. None of that stuff. All of a sudden, I've got heavy John Deere influence going on. And you guys will see it. Like, it's crazy, bro. Like, I'm so excited. That's like, funny. I was like, what am I? And I didn't plan it. It just started coming together, and I started looking at it, and I'm like, God damn. This has got some John Deere to it, man. So now I'm leaning into that whole aspect. So I'll get that thing done and post pictures. But yeah, Starfield, still, we'll talk about it a little bit here. It has been, again, all consuming. I feel like this is the same level of Cyberpunk addiction I had when Cyberpunk dropped. This is even beyond that, actually, at this point. And because I'm not doing any of the missions, I'm not doing any of this other stuff, and I'm already over 100 hours in. Pretty crazy. And I have no inkling to, like, I've had people hit me up on Twitter as I've posted things because I've been sharing a lot still. I've been accepting my own challenge that I put out there to fight the negativity with the positivity. I've been seeing that. And I've been sharing the hell out of screenshots and stories. I've got adventure logs that I've been putting out there that people have been loving, seemingly. Again, I've gotten more interaction on Starfield posts than any other game I've ever done. Cyberpunk in the beginning was a little bit like this, but this is crazy. Starfield is on another level. There are so many people out here enjoying this game, despite all the other stuff out there about it, the discourse. Yeah. My posts have been crazy, but I don't remember where I was going with this. The fact is that when it comes to what I'm getting out of this game is confirmed 100% beyond what I ever expected to at this point. Still, I never expected to be 100 hours in and have no real drive to go do any of the main missions or the faction missions. I'm playing this game my way, like I've done with every other Bethesda title in the past. I don't think that I will be hitting those missions anytime soon, unless something sparks, or if I do finally just go, you know what, I want to do something a little bit different. Let me go do some Crimson Fleet missions. I might do that because I do have some interest in seeing the faction quests, which are always great in Bethesda games. I do want to see some of them, and I've heard nothing but great stories, but I really don't overall have that drive right now. I'm having too much fun, and I haven't even started outpost building still, right? I haven't even started that kind of stuff. Starfield special, and I said on PM to PM. I'll just say this now before we get, before I let you go, and then obviously later on we can get into Starfield, talk about some of the other stuff going on with it. Right. But I said on PM to PM, and I said that this was on its way, but I'll just say it now. And Starfield is my favorite all-time Bethesda game, which in turn,
big praise.
Yeah, it's huge. Which in turn means it's my favorite all-time game, because again, Oblivion and Skyrim were my 1A and 1B favorite all-time games. Elder Scrolls being my favorite franchise all-time. Oblivion, Skyrim being one of my favorite games, 1A, 1B. I'll tell you that Starfield is my favorite all-time game. It is my favorite Bethesda game. And like I said, this is before I even hit factions. This is before I hit the main storyline, which I've heard nothing but praise about as well. Had people try and tell me this is where I was going before. I've had people jump in my Twitter posts and say, go get the powers, go get the powers. That's not a secret anymore, obviously. Right. Just, at least go get a couple of them. It changes the game even more. If that's the case, then I'm even in for a bigger trip down the road, because even I don't even have an inkling to go get Space Force powers. Like I just don't like, but if they are that good and people are telling me that they're really awesome, they change your gameplay up, well, then I'm in for another big giant loop when I get those powers, right? Because that's going to change perspectives again. This game gives and gives and gives and gives. It is a story generator that, like I said in one of my last tweets this week, I legit sat back and said, because I was writing these adventure logs of different things, And I legit sat back and said,
Dope, by the way.
yeah, thanks. I sat back and said, you know what? You could actually write pulp sci-fi just from your random stories that you come across in this game. You legit could write full books, short sci-fi pulp books from like the 70s and 80s from just the adventures, the random adventures that you have out there. Of course, you fill in details and all that kind of stuff with your character and the character's backstory and different things that maybe didn't actually happen during your gameplay. But you could do that, and that's what's insane. That's what's insane, crazy to me, and why I love Bethesda games. This is the ultimate Bethesda game. It truly is. If you don't like Bethesda, you're not going to like this game per se. Now, Steel, I say that knowing that you were the casual Bethesda fan, and you never jumped into a game. That's different than I've played Skyrim. I've played Fallout. I don't like Bethesda style games. That's different. You different, right? You just didn't draw you in. You didn't have like dislike. It just wasn't anything that grabbed you. But I'm saying there is a group of people who do dislike the style of Bethesda, which is fun. We've seen a lot of them, heard a lot of them voices out there recently. You guys aren't going to do this. Bethesda's not going to change who they are. And we'll talk about that still, because that's a big part of this conversation too. I'm just so happy that they made this game. I am so happy that Todd got his vision out there. This game's only going to evolve. The game's only going to get better. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, it should have been this way from the beginning. They should have had this. They should have had this. They should have had this. Should have had this. Talk to the other 90% of the games out there then every time they launch. Okay. That's not where we're at in 2023. This is a game that legitimately is going to be playing 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. This is legitimately a game that tons and tons of people, just go look at how many people are playing Morrowind 20 years on. This game will be around the same fashion. It's going to change. It's going to evolve. There's going to be differences in it, but I'm just glad that they got this game out. This is the ultimate sci-fi trip that you could ever take in a video game for me, right? That gives me all the feelings that I want to feel. And on top of it, they've added new modes like shipbuilding, which they obviously did not just slap together and throw in this game. They spent a ton of time crafting the shipbuilding, and it shows. Like, it feels that way. I love this game, Seal. I love Starfield. It is my game of the year. It is my game of the generation so far. Hands down. This game is just absolutely amazing. So I'll end it there. Sorry, I can ramble on, but that was a big long-winded intro there.
You're good. Because I definitely want to touch on a few things here too. And Jasper, I do agree with you. I only have one power, and I find myself a lot of the time forgetting about it because I'm always in the moment, right? Yeah. By the time I do think about it, the fights, whatever fight that I'm having, is over with, right? I've already shot everybody. I'm moving around the map. I'm making sure that I'm getting ammo. I'm sneaking around, I'm capping fools. I started getting silencers on some of my guns. Really started to be able to upgrade some of the guns, also upgrade some of my spacesuits. I found a leveled up version of one of the pirate helmets that I really liked. So that kind of helped enhance my experience some too. And I mean, again, you guys want perspective on where Starfield is kind of at right now? There's 100 pages, jumped up from 24, almost seemingly within a week and a half. There's 100 pages of mods for Starfield right now on already. Nexus mods.
And the official stuff hasn't even started.
Yeah. So, and again, there's a lot of like little things here, little things there. For some people, some cosmetic things, other enhancements and whatnot. For me, I've mainly been looking at the cosmetic stuff that they're bringing in, because I don't like at least for me, anybody else, you can have your own experience. It's a single player game, do whatever you want. As impressive as some of the shipbuilding that I've seen from people is, a lot of people are using mods to help, well, not help, but to get rid of the limitations of the shipbuilder. I'm not impressed by that personally, because you're not using what the game has given to you and trying to build whatever you can within that limit. That's extremely impressive to me, because you have to deal within these walls versus, oh, let me take the walls off and let me just go Lego style. Like, I get it. It's fun. It looks cool. Some of the things that I've seen. And then God Emperor, they have some UI mods on there, inventory mods that I haven't used any of those kinds of things, because I like the general experience of what Starfield has given me. I will agree with you though, Pong. Starfield is my game of the year. As I do love Armored Core 6, and I do love Hogwarts. I do love. Hold on. I'll let you jump in. I do love. There are other games that have definitely stuck out to me, and the only reason that I would have to give Starfield my game of the year is because of the variety of things that I'm able to do and the way that the game makes me feel when I play it. All that I needed Starfield to do was give me some of those feelings that I had from Mass Effect when I played those games. And again, yes, that experience kind of enhanced itself over time. And again, I mean, every single one of those games are great within their own right. But Bethesda has definitely hit a string with me, at least, whether it be the companions that you have. I heard you guys talk about a little bit about that last night. I heard Psycho talking about that with Andreja. You know, how he experienced a whole different storyline, and each companion has their own kind of thing that you kind of experience with them. But the world literally kind of lets you experience whatever your Space Odyssey needs to be. And again, as I've mentioned previously, is the game perfect? No, it's not. Are there issues within the game that bother me sometimes? Yes, but I also have to be honest and say that even in the gameplay that you're seeing in the background for today, I'm showing Spider-Man in the background today. This is from PC. This game even had problems, right? So, not as an excuse for the game having some of the issues that it has, especially with AI, especially with the graphics and the performance and things of that nature. But overall, games are supposed to be about the experiences that you're having in that moment. And I have about the same amount of time that you have, Pong. And I have progressed some things. I still haven't progressed the main story yet because I've been off from faction missions. And by the time I finish one faction quest, and I get a ship. I finish another faction quest, and Pong, I'll give you this experience for an example. And this isn't going to be a spoiler because it was kind of something on the side. So I mean, if you do feel like it spoils you, then this is your spoiler warning. But I was doing a mission for Ryujinx, right? And the mission, I had to go take somebody out or whatever. I had to connect with somebody else to get the things that I needed to go take somebody else out. I got with this dude on Mars because that's where I needed to meet him at. And we got into conversation, and then he started to tell me about this chick that's apparently trying to kill him or whatever. He's like, oh, I'll give you these things, but you got to do something for me. I was like, okay, well, what I got to do for you? He was like, oh, well, I got this chick. She's hunting me down, and she got this gun. If you could bring the gun back to me, then I'll give you the parts or whatever. I'll give you what you need so you can get your mission done. Like, all right, so boom. So I go out there. She's in a ship, and so I get back in my ship, go out to space, and go to her location. She's in the ship. So I kind of cut her off or whatever. And I hail, and I'm like, yo, I'm looking for you. I was looking for you. I was like, hey, are you such and such? I've been looking for you. I was told I need to kill you. We have a little bit of a dialogue there. And she was like, oh, this, that, and the other thing. Get on the ship. So I ended up boarding her ship or whatever because she wanted me to come through. And she was like, oh, if you do anything shady, I'll just shoot you. I was like, all right, cool. I mean, the gun that this other dude told me about sounds like it's kind of mean anyway, so we'll see how this plays out. I'm not gonna be scared of you. So I board her ship and everything, and come to find out, you get into the dialogue or whatever, come to find out they were in a relationship together at one point. He essentially double-crossed her and turned her into the to the UC. And she ended up having some problems with that. So ever since then, she essentially was like, yo, ever since that time, I've told myself that it is my life mission to get revenge from that man. For him setting me up, essentially for no reason, just because of whatever disagreement that they had. So we get deeper in the conversation, or whichever the case, and I tell her, like, look, I either have to kill you or you need to give me your gun. And I'll just take your gun regardless, no matter what you do.
Right.
We end up hashing it out or whatever. She's like, you know what? I go through the persuasion. I persuade her, and I'm like, look, I don't have to kill you, whatever the case might be. Give me a gun. I'll leave, let you be. It's not worth your time. Just leave dude alone. And, you know, I'll handle him. So essentially she gives me her gun. Mind you, the gun that she gives me, every second shot, it lights enemies on fire. It lights people on fire. Every second shot. And it's a laser pistol. Yeah. And I was like, damn, this fucking this sounds kind of dope. I haven't used it at this point. I'm only saying that it does that because I did end up using it. So I go back to the dude and I'm like, yo, so what was up with old girl? Why'd you really want me to go get her? He was like, oh, well, you know, this, that, another thing. She's crazy. I'm like, oh, she's crazy, huh? I was like, weren't y'all together? He was like, oh, well, you know, that was the past, and, you know, this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, okay, so what happened? So then he told me what actually happened, and it kind of corroborated the story or whatever. But that's something that you wouldn't have necessarily experienced, depending on however your outlook is, because you could have just went, boarded her ship, killed her, took the gun, and went back to the old dude. And that could have been the end of it. But seeing how the dialogue options went, and you could have also just went there, shot her ship up, and then got her gun from the wreckage or whatever. So you had multiple options, because that was one of the things he said to me when I got back. He was like, oh, why didn't you just shoot her when you saw the ship? I was like, because I felt like there was something else going on. But just little moments like that are kind of spread out through Starfield. And again, I understand if people aren't finding what they were looking for, or if you felt like this game was supposed to be the space exploration game of all, like the greatest space exploration game of all time. No, it's not. It's not No Man's Sky. No, it's not Elite Dangerous. No, it's not Star Citizen. No, it's not all these other games that people mention. But again, like we've also mentioned previously,
it's not what they're building.
That's not the type of game that they were making. If you played previous Bethesda games, then you have an idea of what this game is. And if that's not for you, then I get it. But for someone like myself, and I'm seeing other people too, who typically aren't Bethesda fans or don't really take a liking to their game, I'm seeing a lot of those people kind of come around and say, man, I'm really enjoying what I'm getting out of this. And again, I will reiterate the point, as much as Pong's not having a boring time either, with Starfield, I mean, kind of playing it at his own pace. Yes, he had some early things that kind of bothered him in the beginning, but overall, I still don't see the boredom in this game. Right? There's something to do. You pick a direction, you move that direction, and there's always something branching off of that that you can be a part of. Evolve the conversation. Persuasion adds a whole different level, especially if you're continuously are successful at it. And I would suggest anybody to please play the faction missions when you get a chance, because again, some of those, I don't agree with they can be whole games on themselves. No, if it wasn't within this game, they were games on their own, it wouldn't be as strong as it is. They're only as strong because they enhance the general experience of Starfield, right?
It's always been with their factions,
right? So I kind of wanted to fight back on that a little bit, because I hear people say that, and it's just like, I get that they're good, but they're not games by themselves good, right? They just enhance the game that you're playing, which is really special, because you get a ship, you get a gun, you get armor, you get this, you get that. And it also helps you understand a little bit more. Every little faction quest that you do helps you bring a new perspective to what is going on in this universe known as Starfield within this game. So again, because of these things, and because of how I feel about it, yes, I do and will give Starfield that game of the year for me currently. And again, that could change if the experience all of a sudden gets worse and I start not enjoying it, then sure. But I literally don't see that as a possibility, right? And again, it's just. It's interesting to see how the conversation's kind of been playing out, and so the dishonesty people have been throwing out there. But go ahead, Paul,
we gotta talk about this, bro. We gotta talk about this, because you I had no idea, chat, that I'm just as shocked as all of you. I saw everybody in the chat going, what? Whoa, what? Steel.
Yeah.
Brother. It's a big statement. Man, coming
truth,
from you.
Man.
Right. And obviously that's why it's so impactful, is because of how you started the experience of hopping into Starfield as, fresh day one Bethesda game, which you've never done before. This is why I was excited, no matter what was going to happen, no matter what your thoughts were. I was excited to get your perspective, because it is a different perspective from those of us that are big, giant Bethesda fans. Obviously, again, my bias, I say I'm biased,
you wear all the time.
These games are made for me. Like, this is like the formula that I love. I could play game after game if it was set up this way. But for you, there wasn't the same level of expectation. There wasn't that same level of knowing that you were going to walk into this game, and probably for me, 90% sure I was going to love this game, right? 90% sure. I didn't know where it was going to fall as far as the all times go, like for me, but 90% sure I was going to enjoy the hell out of this game. You didn't have that same level of confidence per se, because you didn't know how it was going to go for you. It could have gone like it did for Skyrim and Fallout when you tried them. And you could have tried it for 10 hours and been like, it's just not drawing me in. I'm not. Yeah. But here we are today, Steele. You're gone for a week. You go visit your brother and you come back on a Saturday on Living Split Screen and drop. It is your game of the year.
Yeah.
I think that speaks volumes. And I will also say this, Steele. I love it. The fact that it has grabbed you. I always love, again, when people experience new things and find enjoyment in them. And so that's huge to hear that. And, it goes to something that we have been talking about, Steele, that Starfield is one of those games that, always people should try. This is why you can't listen to the noise, why we always suggest you never listen to the noise. And again, for everybody in the chat right now, and for most of the people that listen to us, you guys all do that. You guys just try what you're going to try. You all know who you are as gamers, but more in general, the masses need to try this and try games like this. And it's not specifically Starfield, but it's just because we're talking about it here. You got to sometimes expand out, because you never know what you're going to love. It's like when you hopped into Mass Effect and it became one of your goats all time as far as franchise goes.
1,000%.
Out of the blue, you had no idea what it was going to be, but you hopped into it because I was talking about, everybody's talking about it in the community. You heard it over time,
right?
Like, I had to go play this game. It's not normally your style per se, single player all the time, but you've been branching into that area, and here you go. You find a game, and you find 3 games in Mass Effect Legendary Edition that you absolutely love, and this is what it's about. And I'm shocked, Steele. I didn't know if it was going to get to that level. And like you said, it could change, obviously, at any point.
I don't see it. I don't see it changing.
Yeah.
Because if this is supposed to be the weaker parts of the game that people have been kind of talking about, then I don't see how the experience gets worse from here, right? The time that I've spent shipbuilding, and it's not like I'm purposely seeking out, let me make content about shipbuilding. No, it's something I accidentally fell into and was like, what can I do with this? It's kind of like what you were explaining earlier. It's exactly how I felt about, hey, what can I do with this? And then it's like, well, let me look up a picture. Let me see if I can maybe recreate something similar to this. And it started with the X-Wing, and then it's transferred into the gunship from Clone Wars, which is one of my main ship right now, because I have over 3,500 cargo in there. So it's like, I use that for everything, and it's literally a warship, and it's not even a C-class yet. I just got the B-class reactor, and I haven't had enough money to really upgrade it, because every time that I do, I have another ship that I have in mind that I want a smaller version, because I want something else out there that I can kind of use in between, maybe, depending on what missions that I'm doing. It's just the amount of variety and the way that the game makes you feel. And to MG's point, like Starfield over Armored Core 6 for me, as much as I do love Armored Core 6, and I love every ounce of what Armored Core has given me, and I still have to finish up my 3rd playthrough of that game. And again, if that doesn't tell you enough of what that experience brought me, I don't know what will. But the advantages that Starfield has over Armored Core is that there's much more of a vast story there. I mean, an Armored Core does have a story, but again, it fits it within that From Software niche, to where it's like, some people are going to understand it and most people aren't, right? So it's not very upfront. It's more so the gameplay that really carries that game more than anything. Right. Whereas in here, for Starfield, it's every aspect of the game. Whether it's the conversations that you're having, the way that you approach the situations, how you kind of go about the journey. And again, I wasn't expecting for this game to be No Man's Sky. And I would reiterate this once again, as someone who also put 100 hours into No Man's Sky, I can say for 100, No Man's Sky versus Starfield. Starfield has all the things that I was missing from No Man's Sky. And again, I would iterate that the things that are missing from Starfield, I don't miss from No Man's Sky. Would it be cool? Right. Sure. Is it needed? Right. No.
Right.
Especially from the third person aspect. It's just been a really good time, and I've been really enjoying it. And that's without gameplay enhancing mods or anything like that. It's just playing the game for what it is. So it's exciting to see, man. And I'm happy that at least I feel like Bethesda has broken through their typical mold with this game, right? As many people are not wanting to acknowledge it for whatever reason. This game is going to definitely grow over time.
You think they have, from my perspective as somebody who's played a lot of Bethesda, the conversation, we'll talk about that. I don't want to start another conversation because I know we're going to get into later and we got to get to upcoming week of games. But the fact is that the people who say that Bethesda hasn't evolved is bullshit. You can see what they've learned through the years and where this game is different from their other games. And you can point to the obvious stuff and say, well, this isn't different. This, loading screens and all this kind of.
If your only concern, if your main concern is loading screens and you're saying that the game is bad because of loading screens, I mean, again, like you use a reference on PM and the PM, then God of War is bad because you can't jump.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I think they've evolved. I think they pushed the bar. They took lessons learned from the past. Yes, there are little quality of life things. Yes, there are little nitpicks. There are things that obviously I could say, Bethesda, how the hell did you not know that your fans were going to want this in this game in 2023 after all the conversations, after all the mods of your other games? Like, how could you not know? Like, you should probably put this in the game. Like, I could go down a list of that. But overall, the sandbox experience itself is even more complete now than it ever has been before. There are more things to enjoy. And with you saying it's game of the year, I got to bring in Caitlin too. Obviously, shout out to Mav and Caitlin. This is not a game Caitlin would ever think of herself playing, ever. Caitlin knows herself as a gamer. She sticks to her games. I've seen people try to say, oh, she's just playing because Mav. She doesn't do that, Steele. We know that. She never jumped into Diablo just because we were all playing Diablo. She said, no, it doesn't interest me at all. She gave Starfield a try, and now she's got more hours than Mav does. She's got like 70 plus hours in Starfield. This is a game that Caitlin never would touch, but she has absolutely fallen in love with because she went into it with no expectations. She found that sandbox and decided to go play her way, which is what the greatest thing about, and I've said this time and time again about Bethesda games, is play how you want to play, create your own stories, go do what you want to do. There's no right or wrong way on how to play a Bethesda game like this. And she found her place in the sandbox and she's enjoying the hell out of it.
Right. That's what it's about.
That's the magic. And that's why I say that everybody should give it a try. If it winds up not being for you, it's not being for you. That's fine. Again, this continuous conversation about all the things that it's not, instead of all the things that it is the most, and it's not even, it's irritating to me. But at the same time, I'm at this point where I'm just laughing because, like I said last night, and like I said on PM to PM, 5, 10, 15 years from now, the people, the professionals, I'm not just talking about the general audience, but the professionals who have written these articles, who are writing these articles about Starfield Weekly now, about what it isn't and what should be there and all this kind of stuff.
That should tell you enough.
Years now. Yeah, I could see the people 5, 10, 15 years from now. I can see these same people writing articles going, yeah, I was too tough on Starfield.
I don't think it's going to take that long.
It might not even take that long.
I don't think,
but I'm just saying that I think it's funny because this is why I've tried to impress upon people that you go into Bethesda games, do what you want to do. Don't think that there's a set right or wrong way. Play how you want to play. Create your own stories. If you are one of those people who just want to see the mainline it. Jaffe did that. Jaffe calls this the greatest single player game he's ever played. And he mainlined it. He did a couple side quests, right? But he mainlined. That's how he plays his games.
Yeah.
And and Randall Thor, Rand's still playing it, but he mainlined it for the most part. He played for about 80 hours, mainlined, did the faction quests, and loved every second of it. There's no right or wrong way here, folks. Just try Starfield. All right, I'll leave it there.
No, I do want to real quick before we get into upcoming games and everything. There's a bit of a PSA that I do want to put out there.
Yeah.
So this is not the first time that we've talked about this, and this is probably what you were hinting at that we were going to touch on later.
Yeah.
But as far as reviews go, whether it be Metacritic, OpenCritic, whatever critic that you want to use to be a baseline for how you should feel about games, I need you to please find out whoever you are as a gamer, whoever you are as somebody who enjoys the hobby, and stick with that. If we're going to literally base everything on reviews, and for the reviewers out there, especially that are stating that we as consumers, because I heard you mention this, Pong, don't know what the hell we're talking about, I'm going to tell you that you're an idiot and you don't know what you're talking about neither. Because as a consumer, I should have an understanding. As somebody that considers this a hobby, as a passion, I should have a base understanding of what I look for in games. Now, does everybody maybe have that RTS approach or know how to be subjective when it comes to their games? No. But I will say this, just because you're jaded by the amount of games that you have played and you being forced to play games for your job doesn't mean that you all of a sudden, and I understand that you might have went to school and that you work for this big conglomerate and you feel good about yourself. Those are great things. You should. And I'm not going to be the guy to tell you that your opinion is less than mine. It's not. Your opinion should be held at value, at higher value. Good. Your opinion should be held at higher value because you have put in the work to get to where you're at. But the problem is we have come to a point where things have been blatantly exposed that there is a bias. If it's not on one side versus the other side, that people are going to have a problem. And if you don't want to accept that as a reality, then you can live in whatever world that you want to live in. But I'm telling you, you're yourself are living in a fantasy world, not the consumers that you're trying to downplay or diminish or say that we don't know what we're talking about. At the end of the day, this is video games. You're not reviewing anything else of value to me that can help in my real life, that can help in my house, that can help with the kids, that can help with any other aspect of life. It is a hobby. It is a passion. It has also been proven that reviewers don't hold the same value that they used to. Because sites like IGN, as an example, can be persuaded and have demonstrated that they also have their own bias and cannot be subjective. There's no reason, for an example, why Jedi Survivor was higher rated than Starfield was. And Jedi Survivor has more, as great and as much as I love that game, every aspect of it, combat, story, the development was so much better than the first game. But goddamn, the performance on that game was terrible. Up front, it was choppy. It was even on a PC. Yeah, I could power through a lot of that, and maybe it didn't go down to 30, it'd go down to 45 from 60. But even on that is a problem. And people ignored those things. People said, oh, well, the game's great, don't worry, play it. And you set a bad precedent and gave the game a higher rating. It's like you purposely ignored things or tried to tell people you should ignore these things so that then when they go buy the game and they have all the negative experiences, that they should just be satisfied with that. And I thought that we were supposed to be fighting back against that. The issues that we're seeing, the bugs that we're seeing, and none of those things are, at least in Starfield as an example, are things that negatively impact the experience. For me, no game is perfect. Game doesn't deserve a 9. It doesn't deserve a 10 out of 10. But any reviewer saying that gamers' voice doesn't matter or that they don't know what they're talking about, you need to go get your ego checked. Because there's nothing wrong with having an ego. Everybody should have some form of an ego. Give yourself that pride. Give yourself a reason to believe in the things that you're saying. That's what it's about. Everybody has some form of an ego. If you don't, typically you can become a pushover. Ego doesn't mean that you gotta brag about everything and say that you're always right. That's not what ego's about. Ego's about just standing for what you believe in. Ego's about, having an opinion and not letting others push you off of that opinion without good information to back their statements up to kind of enhance the conversation that you're having, right? And a lot of the ego that we're seeing nowadays is more so coming from a standpoint that, oh, I work here, so you should just respect my opinion. And I just don't agree with that. Again, please, ladies and gentlemen, just the same way we do with movies. The reviews on movies have always been criticized because they're never accurate. There are some movies that have been terribly rated that have been some of the greatest movies. And it happens the same way in gaming. Please understand what you like, what your passion is, what your hobby is, the things that you're looking for, and then move on from there. Reviews are just supposed to be a baseline idea of what's going on. And more people I'm seeing have come out, especially about Starfield, to say, oh, I felt like I was forced to play the game a certain way because I had to do a review. And you see that from other games also. Oh, I had to play the game a certain way because I got to do a review. And for the people that are don't agree that, oh, we don't do negative posts to get traction, you're an idiot. Because that's exactly why you do it. That's why the internet exists as wide as it does, because negativity is a leech. People love that shit. It drives conversation. It drives people coming to your website. It is so less likely that positive articles about Starfield or any other game get pushed out there unless it's on one side of the fence or the other, to where any of that matters. So kind of wanted to give a little bit of a PSA there about that. Again, everybody's opinion has value, but you have to determine what their value means to you. Right? And again, I just feel like that goes right back to understand who you are, not only as a person, but understand who you are within your hobbies too. So that's kind of where I wanted to leave it off with that. Again, I can't refute anybody who wants to give any game a 7 or an 8 or whatever. But just don't sit here and make it seem like well, 7's a good score. 7 is an average. A 7, you might as well give the game a 5.
Nowadays, giving it a 7. Unfortunately, whether you agree or not agree in 2023, and if you say that is still a good score, and your IGN, yeah, but I don't agree with it.
Go ahead.
But if you're IGN and you say that that's a good score just because you put the word good underneath it, you don't understand your community. You don't understand the change that has happened in this industry. Right. That's what I'm saying. You don't understand who you're talking to if you're honestly going to say in 2023 that still means a good score. You all know the conversations that happen around games that are under 8, even 8.5 now.
Looked at. Yeah.
Right. And so the fact is that you aren't in touch with the audience that you're supposedly talking to. And that's the shitty part. Right. So, and again, I think, like I said, Steele, to your point, what you were just talking about is very valid. A lot of these reviewers played Starfield a certain way to get the reviews done. We've seen some of those same reviewers continue to play Starfield after the launch and have very high praise that flies in the face of the scores they initially gave Starfield. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the part I was talking about, that we're going to see articles later from these same people saying, ooh, Yeah, I was too hard on Starfield. I was too hard on Starfield. Now that I look back on it, yeah, I probably should have given it a better score, or I think differently about the game now. I've seen opinions seemingly change on the fly as people have continued to play the game and played it a different way than from the style that they were using to get that review done.
Mm-hmm.
And it hits different for them. You can tell it. You can tell. So yeah, I think it's all valid what you just said, Steele. And again, knowing who you are as a gamer certainly doesn't mean not trying things from time to time. That's why I brought up the example of Caitlin. You know, for me, myself, not a Souls fan, tried Elden Ring, had a great time for the 50, 60 hours I put into Elden Ring. Don't regret it for a second. I've tried to go back and play games that didn't hit me the first time. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean don't go outside the box and not try something. It just means if you do go try something and it winds up being something you don't enjoy, it's not something to hang your hat on and be like, I freaking hate this game. Oh my God. It just continues. You just move on and say, hey, I tried something new. Didn't grab me. Okay. I know it's just not for me. And you just move on. This continuously harping about stuff that we don't like, or I just don't get that. Again, I don't come on Living Split Screen. I don't come on all these shows every week and talk about Zelda because I hate Zelda. Like, it's just like, nah, if the topic comes up, I'll talk about Zelda. But otherwise, I don't sit out here and go in people posts who are loving Tears of the Kingdom and go, why do you like this game? This game's trash. Why do you like this game? That shit's nonsense. I just move on. I just know the game's not for me, so I'm not going to be playing it. That's all. And that, I think, Steele, that speaks to what you were talking about is just knowing who you are as a gamer. Doesn't mean don't try things. It just means, hey, just go figure out exactly what it is that you do enjoy and enjoy those things.
Figure out what you're looking for.
Right.
And if it has value to you, then find out. Especially when you have services like Game Pass, as an example, where you can fucking try it and see if it's for you or not.
Correct.
You don't have to spend the $70. Like, people are coming across in this conversation like you had to pay $70 for it. You didn't. Try the fucking game and find out if it's for you or not. Why is that such a difficult concept? I don't get that. And it doesn't devalue the game because it's in Game Pass. It's the way that they're doing business. I literally can give a fuck less whether Microsoft is making billions of dollars off of Starfield.
Right.
They're charging us for online still. So what are we talking about?
Right.
To just get access to your content, you have to pay a subscription fee on any platform outside of Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we really talking about? And I saw somebody else bring up a good point. Who was it? Crispy Rambo. I don't care. IGN gave a 7 out of 10, but I also have no problem with people questioning the intent of the guy who reviewed it. Because as a reviewer, you leave yourself open to criticism because that is part of your job.
Especially when you're public about your comments about the company as a whole.
That also.
And right.
Yes.
When you're public, there is reasonable doubt that you had a neutral stance reviewing Starfield with how public you've been. And that's a fair question to have. And again, the review thing is Mav has been extremely passionate about this. And I understand his passion. And I also understand the people that go, dude, you're pretty wrapped up in, Dan Stapleton giving it a 7. Like, I understand both sides of it.
Right.
The thing is that gets lost when we come into conversations or talk about reviews or talk about how the mainstreams, the IGNs, there's something that's lost there. People assume that you're coming from your own perspective, that it somehow affected you. That's not what this is about, because most of us in this community already know that reviews should never have an effect on who you are as a gamer or whether or not you play a game. If you see interest in it, it's never, for most of us, it's never about that. The reality is, as much as we can sit here and talk over and over again about how reviews should not affect you as a gamer, the fact is that IGN does have influence on the wider audience still. Metacritic still has influence on the wider audience that is not a part of this community, that is not in here keeping track of the gaming industry like we all do on a weekly, daily basis. it does have an effect on that. So from that perspective, people like Mav who are extremely upset. I've gotten to the point where it's irritating, but I laugh at it, but I still understand the wider impact that those types of reviews can have that will stop those people who are casual gamers from trying a new game that maybe could be one of the best experiences they've ever had in their life. Casual. And again, it's their responsibility. They choose to be that way, but that's the majority of consumers out there. And the majority of consumers do go to places like it doesn't matter what we're talking about, video games, car shopping. It doesn't matter. The vast majority of consumers will go to mainstream professional sites and trust that opinion. So from that perspective, it does have an impact. And that's why we still talk about it. It doesn't have an impact on me. Doesn't have an impact on Steel, doesn't have an impact most of the people in our chat right now, but the wider audience who may go, ooh, a 7. Yeah, I know it says good there, but oh man, look at all these criticisms. I'm just not going to try that game. I'm just not going to play it. I'm just not going to try it. And they could be missing out on something that really could be great for them.
Right.
That's where I still say that there is a conversation to be had about those scores and about potential conflicts of interest or bias or whatever you want to call it. Again, I'm not here to change anybody's mind. No. If you believe there's no bias in all these reviewers, that's fine.
You believe whatever you want to.
I'm not here to change your mind.
Is flat,
I'm not here to fight with you guys over it. I'm just saying, for me personally, I will question certain people that have been public in their statements about their negativity towards Xbox, towards Microsoft when they review a game for Xbox, and seemingly their score is lower than a lot of others. I will always say, you can't say that there's nothing.
I'm also going to question people who think that cinematic experiences and cinematic games are better games or should be rated higher than any other game.
And the way they review it. Correct. Their words.
I'm not rocking with that.
Right. Their words also kind of show where they're coming from. And I got to question that perspective sometimes on the games. Again, their opinion is their opinion. Not here to fight over their opinion, but at the end of the day, you can still say, where did that opinion come from? That opinion doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you read the review. Right. Like, why did they? Then they go into spaces and don't even know that you have to put a skill point into stealth to use stealth.
Like, come on.
Then I gotta go. Okay, come on now. Anyways, all right. That's enough of that. Wow, what a conversation. Steel, you just blew me away with giving a game of the year. So
it's honest, incredible. Man. Again, it's not anything else. So
no, of course not, because you've been honest about Fallout, you've been honest about Skyrim, what they didn't do for you and all that good stuff. So no, that's crazy though. Good stuff, man. Real good stuff. All right, Steel, let's get into, if you're ready.
Yeah, of course.
This upcoming week of games.
Upcoming game.
And let's also, real quick, Steel, I got to do this. I got to shout out the chat. Camper Grant 692. What is going on? Decado. Wait, the world isn't flat. Hey, Decado, it's up for debate. No, personally, I don't think the world's flat, but plenty of people do. Eastside Vandal, what is going on? Nixie, the one and only Nixie. What is happening? Pixelbit G in the house. What's going on? We got Code Oregon. Oh God, I always screw this one. Ugun Remy is in the house.
Ugun Remy. What's going on?
Ugun Remy. I love it. What's going on? Tim the Sorcerer's in here. Live Supremacy. What is going on? We got the one, the only Fun Speculation, aka Mav, is up in the house. What's going on? We've got who else we got in here? We got Calorie. What's going on, Calorie? We got MG dropping on in here. We got Parasite 82 Green in the house. What's going on, Parasite? We got Nam Omar in the house. We got Why So Serious? What's going on, Why? Doom Reapers in the house. What's going on, Doom? Great to have you a part of the show. Dan the Man Cunningham, one of the OGs. What's going on, Dan? Great to see you, my friend. Go Poe is in here. What's going on, Go? Who else? We got Crispy Rambo is in the house. What's going on, Rambo? We got Sappho in the house. What's going on, Sappho?
Real quick, Jasper, because I heard you talking about the first Descendant beta.
Yeah.
If you're jumping in on PC, I would like to see if maybe we can end up linking up to play, because I want to see what that feels like too. Because we're supposed to be able to do that. Because I was going to originally hold off, because he was saying, hey, for upcoming games, kind of don't forget to mention that. Because I played the closed beta. What was that? I feel like it was almost a year ago at this point, but I played the closed beta, was really impressed by it, and to see all the changes that they have made now, I was going to hold off on it, but if I can end up jumping in with somebody, for example, Jasper, you end up on or whatever, I think we might do that, because I think I'm planning to stream it and
that's how the 19th,
get people out.
I think I posted that too. So I'll mention
Monday,
during
I think.
upcoming game.
Oh, Tuesday.
All right. Yeah, Sappho said, I don't understand why people could say whatever they want and complain when somebody pushes back. Yeah, that's the other thing. The playing the victim. Again, personal attacks aside. Again, if you get personal with anybody over a review, that's where you cross the line for me. It's not, personal attacks are never allowed on either side, but just claiming victim when people question or criticize you for your opinion, that's the other part. Yeah, no, I never understand that either. But who else we got up in here? I think I already shot out Eastside Vano. Yeah, I did. Eastside, always great to see you, brother. God, you guys have been talking. The Sly Crow is in here. What's going on, Sly Crow? Sly Crow asked, Steele, and you'd be better positioned to answer this question because of how you played the game a little bit. Does Starfield have any meaningful choices and over-the-top quests compared to Fallout quests? Now, you didn't play a lot of Fallout, so not specifically that, but to you, was there meaningful choices and over-the-top quests so far from what you played?
I feel like every choice that I make is meaningful, because if for example, especially during the persuasion moments, if I don't do the persuasion thing, then you're kind of limited on the options that you have on how you approach a situation. Now, as far as the overall story goes, I don't know. I don't know what impact my choices make on the overall story, because I haven't progressed the main story. I've only progressed some of the faction stuff, and I have no telling. There's no telling how that's going to impact it. I will say this again: spoiler warning for anybody that doesn't want spoilers. After I completed the Crimson Fleet quest, I don't really see the Crimson Fleet that often anymore.
Okay,
not as often as I used to.
As you used to, right?
Right. Now there's again, I got the wanted perk, so I still get people who try to chase after me. But because also, I'm not using the Mantis ship anymore, because I customized that. Because when I customized the X-wing, that was one of the things that was pretty dope. That anytime that I would fly out, I would like start a battle in space, and then they would turn around like, "Oh, it's the Mantis! Everybody run!" So,
that's very
I don't know. Is it impactful like how Mass Effect was per se? Not necessarily from what I've experienced thus far, but again, I don't know how it's going to impact the main story or whatever the case. So
generally speaking, their faction quests in most of their games are kind of standalone quests, and that is like, again, there's always going to be a balance there. Does it change the overall world no matter how many different factions you join, and they can be in conflict with each other? You could be part of both. Like, none of that has been to that level where it's impacted because I don't think they want to take away from the main game. Like, if you decide to go one faction, all of a sudden you couldn't do another faction, or all of a sudden it broke the game because now you were a part of two warring factions, and that just doesn't make sense in real life. Like, that's the part where this is still a game, right? And then they don't do that kind of stuff. Tim the Sorcerer were having a conversation. I saw Tim said the Sly Crow put in 600 hours in Fallout 4. The little story I played in Starfield was already better than Fallout 4 for me, but maybe I missed something in Fallout 4. So there's another perspective as well. Nice. Shout out to you guys having great conversations amongst each other too. Chio Walker, what is going on? Chio Oates in the house. What's going on? Oates says, "Damn, Steel dropping Saturday morning inspirational talk." Ooh, that's right. You know what you're going to get here all the time. Mr. Kima is in the house. What's going on, Mr. Kima? Mr. Kima thinks that there is a personal vendetta against Xbox and the media. And Mr. Kima, not everywhere, but I do tend to agree that there's certain people who certainly do have, I think, an agenda. Sanchez MTZ Gaming, what's going on? We got Sour Blow 18 in the house from International, Xbox International. What's going on, Sour Blow? Always great to see you, brother. Go check those dudes out over at International. Who else we got up in here? Blah, blah, blah. Man, you guys are just talking up a storm. Holy cow. God, I'd love to see all of you. Let's see if I'm Blue Moon FC's in the house. What's going on, Blue Moon? I see you. What's going on, brother? Great to have you always on a Saturday morning, dropping on in here. Dun, 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 dun. Anybody else that I missed? My God. Stanley Fritz. What's going on, Stanley? It's closest you'll ever get to me singing, which is absolutely horrible, as you already heard. Lore Master Jasper, brother, actually, guy who Steele was just talking about. What's going on, Lore? God Emperor Sofa King is in the house. What's going on? We got Web Dave in the house. What's going on, Web Dave? I see you. We got Timmy, of course, dropping in here. What's going on, Timmy? Jax 82. I see you in here. The Black John is in here. What's going on, Black John? He was in here earlier saying, I haven't finished Armored Core yet. Neither have I, sir. I'll be going back to it. Dragonheart Yobi, the legend, the one and only in here. We got Jacob Novik in the house, dropping a member for 1 month saying, think that Xbox will be ahead think that Xbox will be ahead PlayStation game 2 year soon. Okay. That's a bold statement. PlayStation is still selling extremely well. But you never know. Tables can turn fast in this industry. Xbox gets on a roll. They could flip it.
Especially after this most recent PlayStation showcase. I know they kind of set an expectation a bit, but I was expecting for them to pull out a couple stops.
They told us no. And they told us no. Listen to them, Steel. They're reloading, baby. They got nothing. They're reloading. That's all it is. AKW, I see you dropping in here. What is going on? Fahim Scott, of course, is in here. What's going on, Fahim? What is going on in here? Masshole 1977. Great to have you a part of our show. Captain Crunch in the house. One of my favorite all-time cereals, underrated by a bunch of people. Captain Crunch, beautiful day. It is a beautiful day. I agree wholeheartedly. I think I've got everybody in here. Smitty Smith, I see you dropping in here. Smitty, what's going on? Salute to you, brother. Dr. Funkenstein, I do this and people drop in. P1553D, what is going on? Whoop, whoop. What up, peeps? What is going on with you, P1553D? Great to have you in here as well. All right. I think I've got everybody, anybody out there lurking, anybody who I didn't get to. Listen, nothing but love and respect. Thanks for dropping in here with me and Steel on a beautiful, beautiful Saturday morning on Living Split Screen. We are going to get to this upcoming week of games. Ooh. And we'll just start so I don't forget, like Jasper was saying, it's not actual release, but obviously is something that maybe people are interested in. And that is First Descendants open beta. And that happens on the 19th, if I'm not mistaken, Steel. I want to say this week, it starts on the 19th. So if you are interested in a new looter shooter, right, check out First Descendants. That it will be this week. All right, let's go. This is the week of the 18th. And so September 18th, Gloomhaven. We're going to start with Gloomhaven. This is a tabletop brought to video games. Okay. Gloomhaven is been around for a while. It's coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. So if you like tabletop games that are transferred over to video games, and there's been a lot of them through the years, Gloomhaven is another one of those. This is developed by Saber Interactive. So obviously, good quality developer, published by Twin Sales Interactive. It is a strategy game. Again, that's why I said it's tabletop. It's going to be turn-based. It is your strategy type game. This has been out on PC since 2019, and it is now finally coming to consoles. So Gloomhaven this week. Looking forward to checking that out at some point down the road. I have no idea when, but I do want to look at that game because I've watched some stuff on it and it looks pretty damn cool. A big one that's getting really, really good talk now, Steve. This is coming to Game Pass day and date. I believe it is early access right now for people who did buy it.
Big version.
Yeah, another one of those early access.
I did want to see, because it is going to be in Game Pass, I wonder if there's like an upgrade path for that, like how other games have been.
I don't know if there ever was. I don't know if there was one for this or not. But Lies of P and I've seen people, Souls fans are already hitting this game. And a lot of people in this community, obviously. Liza P is getting pretty high praise from everybody still. I know I'm trying to think. The reviews came out. Let me see here real quick. Let me see where it sits on Open Critic.
I was while you're doing that, Paul, I will say, because I saw MG and you brought it up earlier that Fighting Cowboy was having some issues with Liza P and like some of the difficulty and whatnot. He was like, "Still, I want to see you stream it just because of that." And I definitely might, man, for sure. I mean, Liza P is definitely a game that has been on my radar since they have announced it, and it's definitely one I want to jump into, man. To see how it's feeling. I love the spin that they're doing with Pinocchio, and the overall world of Pinocchio, and I want to see how they combine it.
Some screenshots already that really have that the style just oozes out of this game, right? So, and this was it's sitting at 82 on Open Critic, which is a good score for this type of game.
Cool.
Coming from a developer that hasn't been known, right? So, and people are, like I said, the Souls fans out here, I've seen a lot of them really praise this game and say that it's been pretty damn cool. So Liza P, I will not be doing it. I tried the demo. Again, Souls games just aren't my thing. It's not open world like Elden Ring, so it really doesn't offer me anything there. Tried the demo and I was like, I'm not banging my head against this one. I love the style, love the story, love the atmosphere that they've got going on. Again, I wish I had the patience for Souls games, because I do absolutely love their theme, their darkness. Lords of the Fallen looks like it's going to be fantastic. I would love to be able to jump into that game. It's just not going to be for me. So, and like Steele was talking about, know who you are as a gamer. Again, I've tried these games multiple times. I will always try demos. I will always give them a shot. I just know, again, I can know right away. Elden Ring was different because of the open world exploration part of it, right? And that I could go, and if I found an enemy that I couldn't beat, I didn't have to stick around. There was a billion other things I could go do, right? So that was the difference with Elden Ring for me. But Liza P, no, but it looks fantastic. I hope still you do stream it, because I want to see some of your gameplay. Another big one that has come out, obviously in early access. I know people are up in arms about this Steel nowadays with games. What is the official release date? It's not official release date if you're letting people buy in.
The official release date is the official release date, dog. Like, it's not that. It's really not that serious.
Why are we doing this?
It's an option. You don't have to have it. It doesn't make the game worse. It doesn't make, these guys are going to have a fucking advantage over me because they've been playing the game for extra days. They're going to be able to beat my ass. It's a fucking fighting game. Like, it's literally, I can understand if it was a live service game and you got early access. Like, I get it in that aspect. I can hear that piece of the conversation. I still don't agree, but I can hear it. And shit like this, Starfield, other games that have early access options, it is not that big of a fucking deal. It really isn't. It's an option.
I swear it's people being upset at their own FOMO steal. And they get very mad
exactly
at
what it is.
And they project it on other people.
I want to play it right now.
Instead of then buy in or don't buy in. But who the hell cares? It's another business model, and it's a complete option. Yeah, right. Exactly.
I need to play it right now. It's not fair.
I know. And of course, we are talking about Mortal Kombat 1 here, which surprisingly, some people I've seen have some criticism of Mortal Kombat 1 too so far.
Really?
Some people aren't overall. Yeah.
What they've been saying?
Not graphically, right? Graphically,
graphically,
gorgeous game. It's gorgeous game,
especially compared to 11. Bro, the clips that I've seen,
gorgeous game. But I've seen some people really starting to shred some of the acting, obviously, and then shred some of the story. Again, I don't know what you guys all expected. I don't know why people are in this mode that we think devs who have been making high quality, highly praised games are all of a sudden going to completely do something different than that they're known for, such as Bethesda, such as NetherRealms. I don't know what you guys wanted, but devs, I'm all about them. I always will praise them when they try something new, but if they want to continue to lean in to made them great, I will never knock them for that. So Mortal Kombat 1 official launch this week. Of course, NetherRealms. Looks awesome. Again, some of the single player stuff that I've been seeing, because I'm a single player
Game
fighter
modes too,
guy,
bro.
it looks pretty damn cool, man. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm interested. I will. Again, I always pick up fighting games when they go on sale down the road. I hop into them because, again, I'm not about the competition scene. I don't care. It's about me
So
versus
good.
the PC and whatever, or me versus the AI and whatever single player experience they give me. That's what I look forward to. I like the stories. Like all different types of fighting games. So I'll be hopping to Mortal Kombat 1, but I know a lot of people are jumping in right now.
Yeah.
And Mortal Kombat 1, pretty good reviews. I think it's sitting there right around 85 or something like that.
That's not bad.
84, something like that.
And there's a
not as high praise as Street Fighter 6, which again to me is a little odd, but it is what it is. Street Fighter 6 has a special place for people. Mortal Kombat, I thought would, but again,
Mortal Kombat's going to sell more though.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat will sell more for sure.
For sure. The other thing too about Mortal Kombat is that they've added extra modes, especially for single player. Whether you want to, so that you can dive
mini
deeper.
Games, all sorts of stuff.
There's so many more. They brought back a lot of the classic stuff, but also enhanced it even more. I'm excited to jump into it. I don't know when exactly I'm going to end up jumping in on it, just because of some other games that are around. Again, if I do end up playing The Last Ascendant, if I do end up playing Lies of P, if I do end up playing, I still got Starfield has a lot of my attention right now, and I haven't been able to play it all week. So I have some catching up to do as far as that goes. So it just really depends on where I'm at. But I am extremely interested in playing Mortal Kombat 1. And it's looking good. So shout out to Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Shout out to Ed Boon and that team, man, doing their thing for sure. 100%. What else we got coming up here? Of course. Come on, Game Informer. There we go. All right. So you suck at parking. You suck at parking. This came out on PC last year. Shout out to Indie Gamer, who loves this game. He actually streamed this game a bunch last year. It's absolutely hilarious. It's developed by Happy Volcano, published by Happy Volcano. They call it a racing game. I guess in a way it is, but it's all about perfectly parking, kind of what the title is. You suck at parking. Anyways, it's a cool little game. Go check it out. It's finally coming to all consoles again: PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Switch, September 19th. You suck at parking. If you're into indie games, definitely go check that one out for sure. Party Animal Steel.
Yep.
This game that has been delayed, that we saw like 2.5 years ago. I think we saw Party Animals come to Game Pass day and date. Listen, it's Party Animals. You're a bunch of look like stuffed animals. It looks fun as hell. I'm not gonna lie. And you run around and try to throw the animals around. They've got mini games like soccer. They've got all sorts of stuff in this game. Party Animals looks like it's going to be a blast. Again, am I going to jump into it day one? No,
nope.
I'm not going to jump day one, but it looks cool as hell in a lot of ways. By Recreate Games, published by Source Technology. Again, Game Pass day and date. It is a party game through and through. Xbox Series, Xbox One, and PC, September 20th. Party Animals finally here for everybody who's been waiting on that. Days of Doom, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, September 21st. This is developed by Sneaky Box, published by Atari, and it is a strategy game. I saw a video on this. Really cool color usage, really cool aesthetic. There's so much strategy, so much tactics. We are in the golden age, folks. I'm in heaven right now. I don't know if I'll ever get to this game, but it's on my list. Days of Doom this week as well. Go check that out, September the 21st. And then another one this week, Steel, Game Pass, day and date. A game that people play a lot. And this is the new one, Payday 3. Payday 3 looks fun as hell. I'm not gonna lie. Been watching videos on it. It's Payday, so don't think that all of a sudden they changed their formula up. It's Payday, but as a co-op multiplayer game,
one of the good ones out there.
It is good. And Payday 2 had a lot of performance issues, a lot of problems. Never really ran well. until very late in the process. They continue to support that game nonstop, and that's why they have a fan base. I've fooled around with Payday 2. If it wasn't for Starfield, I'd certainly be jumping into Payday 3 with the Fun Spec fam and checking it out. But Payday 3 is a big get for Xbox overall. It's a great spot to have it on Game Pass. It is coming to PlayStation 5, obviously Xbox Series consoles and PC. No last gen this time around. Payday 3 looks hella fun. And I know a lot of people are going to jump into it. So it's a big one. Then we got this in the Nintendo Direct, but it is dropping already this week. We got to look at it again. For all you Ada Wong fans out there from Resident Evil 4 Separate Ways DLC, which does focus on Miss Wong, looks really, really good. Again, I will be hopping into Resident Evil 4 Remake at some point. I do want to play it again. I played the demo with the updates and all the upgrades. It's borderline for me, but I can do it. Again, didn't like the chainsaw dude chasing me, but that's Resident Evil for you. I'm going to jump into it at some point. Glad that Capcom is again knocking it out of the park. The DLC looks cool. That comes this week. PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, PC, September the 21st. And that's it for this week's deal. Next week, we got a big one, big DLC next week. It's actually an expansion, but we will talk about that because they showed off an amazing trailer, Steel, in Cyberpunk.
Yeah, they did.
Phantom Liberty. That's next week. That will start off our list next week. But that was your upcoming week of gaming, folks. That's right. Lots of good stuff dropping. So again, I won't be touching it because Starfield, but I know we got games coming just left and right now still. So
yeah, plenty of stuff to get pulled into. Resident Evil 4, that Ada, and I think Wesker is coming in too.
Yes, yes.
It definitely looks interesting. I don't know how many gameplay elements they're gonna bring in for her, because she seems to be much more nimble. It seems like there's much more movement when it comes to Ada, that's some of the stuff that I remember from her. Things that people used to hint about and people used to talk with me about when we had conversations about Resident Evil. Because again, Resident Evil is another one of those to where I am kind of the casual when it comes to those games. If I ever did play Resident Evil 4 Remake, again, it's only going to be the one time. I don't see how people play that game multiple times over. But I mean, teach their own. I know people like it. It's a remake. I don't think remake should be considered for Game of the Year, so I don't agree with that. But nonetheless.
Nope. I'm in the same boat. And before we move on to Steel, I want to throw this out there because this was a shadow drop yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And I am part of the 1%. Okay. This is not a game for everybody. It's PC only. Okay. It's early access, but I did buy a game, Steel, when I said I wasn't going to be buying any games. And because I got to support the devs on this one. Again, going back to my statement that this is the golden age of gaming, which I've been saying since I jumped in this community, I am getting to relive childhood memories, formative years. And this happened yesterday out of the blue. It's on Steam. Early access is also on GOG, GOG. So if you guys are interested in this, we got some old heads in here. Digital Eclipse, who are great devs. They did like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and that kind of stuff. Digital Eclipse, out of the blue, Steel, Wizardry, one of the original dungeon crawling. I talked about this, and I forgot to mention this in my opening. I become the dollar store oracle around here, Steel.
You have.
I mentioned Ultima. I mentioned Ultima a couple weeks ago. Todd Howard has an interview after that where he talks about the influence that Ultima had on gaming, right? Last week, I believe it was last week. Again, my old memory doesn't work all the time, but I believe it was last week, Steve.
Yeah, it was last weekend. We'll talk about
I think it was This Day in Gaming, where I mentioned old games a lot because we're talking about older games all the time. I brought up Wizardry. Wizardry is, along with Might and Magic and Ultima, 3 games that heavily influenced my love of RPGs. And I brought up that the fact that there was this, I believe he's a single dev in Japan that actually remade one of the Wizardries. And it doesn't even have, they're working on English translation, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's on Steam as well right now. So I had brought up Wizardry. And lo and behold, Digital Eclipse Shadow drops a Wizardry, the first Wizardry remake updated it. You can also switch between the old Apple IIe style. So we're talking green screen, folks, and the new style, which is fully up to date. They kept it a dungeon crawler. They've added quality of life stuff back in the day with dungeon crawlers. For those of you that don't know, like Might and Magic, like Wizardry, you had to get graph paper and map everything out as you went along. They didn't include maps. For everybody complaining about no city maps in Starfield, okay, back in the day, we had to pull out graph paper and map everything out. Okay, that's how it worked in dungeon crawlers. They've added maps to this, obviously quality of life experience, but that dropped yesterday. It's $30 right now. It's early access, so they're continuing to build the game. They said that the price is probably going to go up as it gets closer to launch, whenever they decide to officially launch this game. But for anybody out there looking for that old school dungeon crawler experience with an updated flair, or you can actually switch back to the old Apple IIe version if you want to, Wizardry is now available. So I actually did buy it, Steel. I'm going to support this. Shout out to Digital Eclipse. I made a post, Steel, about it. I didn't tag Digital Eclipse. I didn't tag Wizardry. I just put the word Wizardry in there. But Mike Mika, head of Digital Eclipse, liked my post.
That's fire.
And then he went ahead and followed me. Like, so shout out to Digital Eclipse. Shout out to Mike Mika. Again, I'm going to support this game. I can't wait to jump into it. I haven't jumped into it. I downloaded it last night. Yeah, Wizardry did drop. So any of you old heads that want to jump into something old school, do it. Do it. Wizardry is one of the classics, and I talked about it last week. Wizardry is also hardcore. I don't know if the new version is as hardcore as the old version.
Right.
We're talking permadeath. We're talking about you walk into the wrong area, you're going to lose your entire party and start from scratch. Okay, that kind of hardcoreness, right? That's how it was back then. So yeah, I had to give that a special shout out. Sorry, Steele. I know we're making this longer than it has to be, but
no, you're good. Just trying to see something here. Oh, there it goes. I thought I froze some stuff up. No, I mean, you're good. There's a lot of definitely some dope games that are coming in and dropping out. So that's definitely interesting to see. I was trying to see if I can get some more gameplay up here on the screen for you guys. So bear with me as I do that. Let's see.
I dare you to pull a graph paper for Starfield maps. That's what I'm talking about now. Back in the day, obviously dungeon crawlers, a little bit more fitting for graph paper because it was set up like you were basically doing D&D, which you did all your maps on graph paper back in the day. That's how they were set up. But yeah, that's what I was saying. But even just take a city, people are complaining that there's no maps for the cities of Starfield. I have zero problems learning cities. I don't know how people run around cities and don't know cities. Again, it's a different time. It's a different day and age. My brain works differently than current gen people or people who have forgotten how we used to play games. I learn the cities. Like, are there times, sure, where I go, God dang it, where was that? Yeah, but they've got, signs up and it's really easy to find and you kind of learn as you go. But again, they're going to add the maps to Starfield. They've already talked about that. It's an upcoming patch. So don't worry. Everybody who needs maps for cities, you guys are going to get them. But yeah, that's how we used to do it. And no, I would not be able to pull out graph paper for planets on Starfield. That would not work well. I would need a whole lot of paper. Let's put it that way.
That's a fact. That is a fact. Well, I mean, coming off the heel of the upcoming games, I mean, Pong, do you want to talk about that amazing PlayStation showcase? How much of an impact PlayStation is about to make for the rest of this year? How great that showcase was. Are you going to get what was that called? Little Steps, or what was that game called? Small Steps?
Baby Steps?
Oh, Baby Steps. Are you going to pre-order it? You got that game pre-ordered? You going to get a PlayStation for that one?
The community is affectionately calling us the Dreamcast Guy Simulator.
Oh,
whoa, Dreamcast
whoa.
Guy. Yeah. Because they said the dude looked like Dreamcast Guy.
Hey,
so, nothing but compliments for him. Anyways, no, Steel, I'm not gonna play Baby Steps. I played Human Fall Flat. Again, same developer. Shout out to them. One of the most played games, Human Fall Flat.
Nice.
Again, yeah. Same developer. Again, it's that physics based, got to move every limb type game, right? You got to control how the guy walks and all that kind of stuff, right? So shout out to them. But no, that's not my style game, and I'm not going to put time into it.
Well, that's unfortunate, Pong, because I thought that was going to be your game of the year. I thought you were going to get that was going to finally be the one that was going to get you to get a PlayStation. But they did show some other things. Again, there was a lot of third party, and I'll be openly honest and say that I did expect some extra flavor to be there, right? I did expect from some Stellar Blade. I did expect for maybe some updates or some other things, and we didn't get any of that. That's unfortunate. I thought PlayStation had a card that they were holding. I heard some people say that PlayStation is they're getting ready, they're loading up, and they're about to shoot, especially when this showcase was announced. But apparently it didn't do that. I'm not going to go through the entire thing. I'll just go through some of the main highlights. I'll start off with Helldivers. I definitely want to get your opinion on that. But Helldivers seemed pretty cool. I don't know if it looked as interesting, or I don't know if it looked as good as it did when we saw it the first time. Not to say that it looks bad or whatever, and I'm not going to say it's a downgrade. I'm not saying any of that. It just, I don't know. There's something a little off by it that's weird to me. I don't know if it's the gunplay, if it's the movement. Again, I'm always critical about making the characters feel like they are part of that world. And it seemed like there was a form of a disconnect there, but it does seem like it would be a really cool party game, right? For us to get together, we get in there and, me and Jasper are going to, always bring you guys back, make sure you guys are in the fight. I did like the aspect of definitely more team oriented seemingly. I liked when they had the rocket launcher and it was like, oh, help me load the launcher up. I was like, that was super fire. That was super fire to me. I like that because it adds an extra element of like pressure, and the way that rocket launcher was shooting, it was like one after they loaded, doom. Like it was really cool to see that, and the way that it impacted the monsters too. Like it will break them apart in certain areas. What really did it for me is when they sent out, when he was like, hey, I'm gonna throw out this whatever it was. Explosion, whatever.
I still hate the fake gameplay stuff that they do. Still. Like, we gamers don't talk like that, bro. Like, come on, man. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah, no, it definitely seemed like they were trying too hard, but also were like they were dying. Like, I don't know. It's just like they were in the thick of it. It seemed like, and I don't know if they had played this game before. I don't know if they had something to do with the studio, and I don't know any of these things. Maybe they were just random people. You definitely seemed like they didn't necessarily, they were confused in some sections. They were like hyper aggressive, but it does seem like there's a lot of that tension that's supposed to be there that I do like in those types of games. The customization is there, seemingly. I don't know how deep that's going to be, but it did look interesting. Leveling up, getting a new equipment, new armor, and I'm interested because it gives me a lot of Stormtrooper feels. In a different way for sure, but I would like to see that sequence when they come from the ship and drop down onto the planets. Heavy ODST vibes in that. It seems really dope, and I'm excited. I want to play that on PC. It was interesting to find out that it's not releasing this year, because I thought that was kind of in line with the expectation. It's coming out in February. So
it was a 2023 launch window.
See, that's what I thought. I saw that. I saw that date get announced. I was like, I thought that game was releasing this year. What happened to that? And I mean, again, maybe they needed more time. I'm all for that. It seemed cool though, man. Chia Walker says, "Oh, he coming my way, please help." And he wasn't even like stressed. He just, he coming my way, please help.
Bro, that's what I'm saying. It's so panned. It's not even. It's so bad, bro.
Seems staged.
I hate those. You don't even have to don't have the dialogue. Just show me the gameplay, please. Just do that. Again, we don't need all the talk. Oh god.
And shout out to Nixie. Shout out to Nixie. He said, "Y'all wanted variety. You're getting variety." Sure, you're definitely getting variety again. That's why Pong said he's not as critical on it as some other people were. I'm not as critical on it either. I do think that Spider-Man, and we'll get into that. I guess we'll go ahead and transition into that. I do think that Spider-Man again saved the showcase. It's kind of interesting to see it the first time not be presented in its best light. Some of the issues that you're seeing, I still thought it was cool from what we saw. Again, I do think that first presentation locked it in for me that I'll just wait for the game to come to PC. And I do think I am a little bit more excited about Spider-Man than I was from that original showcase. Definitely a much better showing. There was also other gameplay that was put out there, more involved with Oh, it was the lizard that they ended up showing. They showed the boss battle and whatnot. Some people were flown out and got to see that. The Spidey suits looked really dope. For me, I'm still. I don't know how much more expansive this game is going to be than the first game was, and I don't want to say that necessarily as a knock to the game, because it does look like they poured some more of their soul into this one, right? And I am feeling pretty good about it. But again, I'm still in the belief that for me, this game hasn't sold me a console. I don't know if it's supposed to, especially knowing that their games are coming to PC. Maybe it's because of my experience from Spider-Man 2018 when I played it on PlayStation 4 to my experience of, what I got from when Spider-Man came to PC. It was night and day. Like, the experience that I had playing Spider-Man on PC made the experience that I had on PlayStation 4 seem almost non-existent, right? It made it was such a night and day difference, along with some of the additional elements, modding, and some of the other things that also enhanced that experience for me on PC that made it really valuable. So there is that. MG says still they're adding more boroughs at NYC, Queens, etc., and that's cool.
Yeah.
But it also seems like they're adding more of the same things that were in the first game, as far as like fetch things and whatnot. And again, that could be in the game. They want you to traverse through the world, go through different spaces. The one thing that I will say that was blatantly obvious is that and this was one of my number one complaints about Spider-Man 2018, the world definitely seems like it's more lived in, at least.
Yeah. Which more populated for sure.
For sure. Which is, again, hardware. So that was one of the number one takeaways for me. As far as the combat goes, yeah, you could tell that they enhanced that. It does seem like a lot of the things that you would expect out of a second game, that they're hitting those notes.
Third game, but okay.
I personally don't consider Miles Morales a second. Like, some people do. Some people do.
Release,
and I get it. I get it. I get what you're saying there, but as their second game in the series, third game per Pong because of official releases and whatnot.
Yeah.
I do think that this is going to be better than the first game was. How much better, I don't know. How they're playing between the Miles Morales and Peter Parker storylines, and them saying that, hey, there's going to be events that you're going to maybe need to be this Spider-Man, or maybe you need to be this Spider-Man for certain events. And I was like, okay, then why can't I just swap between them on the fly then? Like, it made it seem like, again, that I would be able to swap between them on the fly, but then it also came across like, oh, it's just these moments. Oh, you're in this moment, you'll see this thing and you'll be able to swap. And it's like, I don't know if I like the idea of that. Not saying that it's going to be bad, but it just doesn't seem like I like the idea of that. And then I saw people hyping up, oh, you're going to be able to fly now. The traversal is faster. Yeah, that stuff is cool. And I really feel good about the things that was presented. I just don't agree with people saying that this game showed so well to the point, especially with other Spider-Man games that have touched the multiverse kind of aspect of Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse kind of thing. I don't know if this game is going to be how some people are portraying it. Like, oh, this is going to be the reason you get a place. Oh, this is going to be the best game to release this year. Oh, this is the definition of quality. You're going to get saw somebody mention in the chat.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 got ray tracing with all the options up to 120 FPS. Yeah. Xbox take note. And that's cool, but please don't confuse yourself and think that it's going to be native 4K. It's going to be dynamic. The same thing that you're kind of seeing with Starfield, although it's a much different game, and some other games that are coming out. And again, they're using marketing terms to really sell this game to you guys, and they should. Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
No,
it's just, and because I'm going to be ignorant about the game, I'm not going to watch anything about the game when it releases. I'm not going to pay attention to it. I literally am not going to focus on it until, outside of what we see on Twitter or whatever the case, I'm not going to focus on it until it releases on PC, for me personally. And that's mainly just because of the vast differences. That's why I was bringing it up before. Because of the vast differences that I experienced from that game, I know for sure that there's going to be vast differences when this game comes to PC, and I would rather wait. So that's kind of my take. I mean, Pong, did this showing of Spider-Man, I know you were hinting at a little earlier that this definitely did better than the original one did. I mean, what are you thinking of it? Do you agree with me on some of those aspects, or how are you feeling?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Insomniac does what Insomniac does. Again, the only thing that I ever said that would have been interesting, and this is, again, for anybody who doesn't know, somebody who could care less about Spider-Man, somebody who could care less, has zero interest. I played 2018 for, I don't know what it was, 10, 15, 20 hours, whatever I put into it, right? And just came away saying, okay, I understand why people think this is a great game. I understand that. It's just not my style. I just have no interest. Again, I just don't, and superhero games just don't do much for me in most instances. But what I wanted to say is, from that perspective, really outside looking in, this was the best showing of Spider-Man 2 so far for me. This was by far their best gameplay that I've seen. This really showed off the game well, and Insomniac are masters at this style of game. The only thing that I ever said that I would love to have seen in this game, and we talked about it early on in Speculation Town Steel, for a while, was co-op. I would have loved to see this co-op. I still think it presents 100%. As if that they thought that they could do co-op in this game. I understand that
it does look that way. Yeah,
they've implemented the whole GTA switch between characters on the fly. All that looks super dope. But the way they show off the game, like even the beginning of this, where they showed them together, like swinging, like I was like, yo, this game would have been so really cool co-op. Really it would have really been. But outside, again, but I don't look at games, like I said, like some of these reviewers do. What's not there? What are they giving me? Well, again, this trailer showed off a ton of action, seamless, fluid action. The traversal in this presentation looked better than in other presentations. It looks like I could just freaking absolutely fly through this city, right? In no time. Get to where I want to be at. The kind of seamless loading. Yes, there is a loading screen there, folks. 5 seconds, but there is a loading screen. But anyways, doesn't matter how they did it.
They did well
how they implement it.
So it's
good. Great. It's fantastic.
Which you should do.
I just thought this was a really impressive showing. And some of the stuff afterwards, like the fight with Lizard on the side of the building that they showed the gameplay there, looked really cool. And if I was a superhero fan, if I was a Spider-Man fan, absolutely I'd be hyping this game.
Real quick,
like this would be really cool.
To that point, because I saw Lord Attic, shout out to Attic, bring up a point that that sequence where they showed Lizard Spider-Man fighting on the side of the building, he was saying that there was like he essentially initially said that there were no damage. He did kind of clarify his statement about the minimal damage. I do agree with him though. When you're going up a side of a building that has glass windows, and there's explosions happening off of the building, but again, why isn't there more attention to detail as far as that stuff goes? Like, it just looks like they're just cracks on the wall, instead of like there's you blatantly put an explosion there, but there's not like a section missing out of that building. You know what I mean?
But,
and there's a truck
still,
going, I don't know. And yes, it's still a game, but
it's still a game.
This is where I would have liked to see that. That's just
this is where I divert. This is this kind of the same conversations that are happening around Starfield and stuff like that. Like I guess I'm so forgiving of games because I've played them for so long that I don't nitpick that stuff. Sure, would it be awesome if they showed destructibility in the building and you had glass falling around you and ray tracing on each individual shard as it was falling? Like all that, would that enhance that moment? Absolutely, of course it would. Still, but overall, that's not what they're giving us.
No, that's not. But the only reason I bring that up is because where the difference is this is more of an enclosed. It is more of a close off experience in comparison.
Kind of.
And those are things that I would like to see that would enhance what has been there in previous games. And of course, Gene, I'm nitpicking. I'm a Spider-Man fan. right? So it's like,
right.
so it's one of those things.
So
Well, I am going to come from more of a nitpicking place because there are things that I would like to see on the attention to detail front versus you giving me ray tracing, like.
But maybe it was
everything look reflective.
and that
as
and
an
that
example.
is
Details what I always go back to.
And that is a point, Steele, that you're always consistent on. Don't give me the ray tracing. Could care less about the ray tracing. Don't need native 4K. Give me the details in the game. It's something that you consistently talk about. So I understand completely where you're coming from there. Again, for me, it's just like, maybe it was a tech limitation. Maybe, Insomniac, it was too much. Maybe they dropped the frame rate if they put too much destructibility. Sure. I don't know.
It's not a big deal overall, but
it's not overall. I just think that overall the action in this trailer sold Spider-Man 2 more so than any of the other trailers that I saw, coming from the perspective that I really don't give a shit about this game, right? That I could care less. This is not a game that would go make me buy a PlayStation 5. It's not a game that if it comes to PC that I will pick up on PC, even though I'll be picking up Sony games over there. I don't have it. I have more interest in Horizon coming to PC, which was announced this week, than I do Spider-Man 2 coming out. Right. So that's where I'm at with it. Right. So, but I just think that this was a really great showing. I thought that this was, along with Final Fantasy 7, which I'm assuming we're going to talk about. That was really good too.
Yeah. I like that.
It sold this show for me, again, as somebody who's from the outside. I think that it definitely carried, along with Final Fantasy 7, the entire kind of theme of the show, the kind of overall feeling from the show, and did what it needed to do for the Sony fans. Outside of getting them to stop talking about Xbox and Starfield, it did what it needed to do to get them excited. Exactly. And that's all that really matters at the end of the day. It's a big release for them. Insomniac's doing exactly what they know how to do. Their turnaround time on these games is incredible. I don't care what you want to say. I think, again, all things, if Sony didn't need Spider-Man 2 this year the way that they do, and they had given Insomniac another year and a half on this game, I think some of that stuff like the destructibility and potentially co-op would have been there. But I think that, again, they know they're going to sell a bucket load of this game no matter what it is, because as long as Insomniac does what they do best, improves it a little bit, which again, Steele, you talked about, there are little improvements here in a lot of different areas. That's all they need to do at the end of the day to sell millions upon millions of copies. And for Sony's bottom line, they needed this game this year. So it's here. And I think it looks good. It really does from my perspective. So that's where I'm at with Spider-Man 2. I think that, I would have led the show with Spider-Man 2 if it had been up to me. I would have done things differently. I would not have led the show with baby steps. I would have mixed baby steps in later on. And I would have led the show with Spider-Man 2 and then ended it with Final Fantasy 7. That's the only critique I would have here. But I think Spider-Man 2 did its job. Insomniac is going to crush it out of the park. And I'll carry this conversation because Steele's talking right now. He's got the real life stuff going on in the background. So let's get into Final Fantasy 7, which there was some interesting things about Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. First things first, obviously the big moment was the release date reveal. Everybody was waiting on the release date for Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. That's kind of why they could mix in all the other stuff that they needed to, which could have been a blog post, like all the other little games. Honestly, Helldivers, Spider-Man 2 and Final Fantasy 7 were the only games that are kind of worthy of a state of play, but obviously they've got marketing deals with devs. They've got to get certain showcases out the door. So they did this state of play, but Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, the release date was the big moment of the show for a lot of people. Obviously, February 29th, 2024, Rebirth is launching. Square. Now we heard some sales numbers. We heard Square's lost $2 billion in value. We've heard all these things. We've heard that, Final Fantasy 16 potentially is like around 3 million. We don't know if those sales have tailed off. They came out with an announcement this week that in total, Final Fantasy 7 Remake and what's the other one? God dang it, I forget the other one. Has shipped a total of 7 million worldwide, shipped and sold. They added in there. Some people were asking if that was a good number or not. All that aside, Final Fantasy and Square still bring attention. They still have that name recognition, even if their popularity has dropped off.
Mhm.
And I'm going to say it that it's dropped off. It's
Mhm.
no longer the powerhouse JRPG it once was. Not to say that it's certainly, you know, on the poor end, not no stretch of the imagination, but it's not what it once was. There's still a good group of people that do play Final Fantasy VII games or Final Fantasy games, but overall, I think the popularity we can say has fallen. Whether that's due to Square's decision making, which we've questioned plenty of times, or whether it's just the overall direction they're taking Final Fantasy, people were looking forward to Final Fantasy VII, the second part here, more so than ever before, because obviously a lot of people like the more traditional style Final Fantasies. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth showed great. This trailer that they put together hit all again, for all you don't know, Final Fantasy VII is not one of my goats. I know it's sacrilege to say, but I'd rather play Final Fantasy X over and over again than I'd ever want to touch Final Fantasy VII. That's just my personal take on it. It never grabbed me like it grabs so many people. But again, watching this trailer, bro, how could you not say that this was not Square at its peak? They make these movie-like cinematic trailers that when it all comes together can boggle the mind. And again, this game is no different. Loved everything I saw in the trailer. For all the Final Fantasy VII fans out there, I was watching the Iron Lords. I was kind of switching back and forth, watching the Iron Lords with Cog and Attic and King David. Of course, King was in his bag, just being just full of nonsense. But man, when Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was showing, Cog and Attic went absolutely nuts. The nostalgia, you could see it hitting them over and over again. They brought in all the characters that everybody expected to see. It looks beautiful. And it's console exclusive, February 29th. Now, the interesting part was at the end of the trailer, they had a little asterisk there. Console exclusive through at least May 29th, 2024. So only 3 months, Steel. Only 3 months. And we had we saw the new CEO of Square on stage with Phil, shaking hands, announcing Final Fantasy 14 coming to Xbox, and also saying we plan to have a better partnership and relationship with Xbox, that we're planning on bringing more things. Could we finally start seeing a loosening of the grip of Final Fantasy VII Remake and a potentially Rebirth, and it showing up on Xbox sooner than later? We'll find out, right? We'll find out. But I think that was an interesting little side note that they put up there. Only 3 months exclusive. Maybe Switch 2. That was the other thing I brought up on PM in the PM. Maybe Switch 2 sees Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth sooner than later as well, because it'll be powerful enough to run these games. So, I thought overall Final Fantasy VII knocked it out of the park. Release date was a huge moment for them, for sure.
That's an interesting take that you had with the Switch thing. I don't know if that's going to be quite possible. Just mainly because of past performance for Final Fantasy VII Remake itself. Especially when it came to PC, it's just
Switch 2 sounded pretty good behind the scenes.
I mean, it's sounding good, but a lot of things sound good, so I guess there is that.
I know.
I mean, we'll see. I think it's more so hinting at it coming to PC much sooner than later, more than anything, just because that would be the most obvious thing. I mean, and again, with the new CEO being in there, I do expect a lot more changes than we're expecting, just because he is a gamer himself, right? So, and that's something that you have to consider. The same way that we look at Phil and other industry leaders who are not only the businessmen, but they are also gamers themselves. They do definitely have more of an understanding of the industry, or at least a more heartfelt and deeper understanding. And business-wise for Square Enix, as much as we could say, oh, I saw Nick saying some things like, oh, well, sales are just flat. They're not up, they're not down, they're just flat, and that's okay. It doesn't need to be over the moon. Again, the facts are Square Enix is losing money. And the amount of money that they're spending to develop these games, you cannot be losing the type of money that you're losing. And if Final Fantasy 14 is going to be your bread and butter right now, and the one thing that you're mainly depending on as a consistent income, and the other games that you release aren't necessarily hitting the marks that you're expecting, I do think that Square Enix is going to start more so releasing their games on multiple flat platforms much sooner than later, because it just makes more sense. So for me, I'll have to let you take back over real quick, Pong. I am excited about what Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is bringing to the table. Again, I am one of the ones, I will 100% support Final Fantasy VII Remake, because it has added enough to the game to make it different. And also the story is not, it's not the same. It doesn't play the same, doesn't feel the same. The twist on the story is extremely interesting, and I'm excited for what Rebirth is going to bring. Again, it's going to be another game that I'll wait for it to come to PC, because it's not a system seller for me, but it is everything that I was looking for as far as the next iteration of your game to be. And they look like it's going to be more of an emotional journey, and they're going to add on to that combat experience. So a lot of things that you saw in Final Fantasy 16, I do think that Rebirth is going to be the better game in comparison to that. So
yeah,
give me a second.
I agree. No problem whatsoever. And real quick correction, chat. I always like to correct myself when I give misinformation or I just totally forget. The developer behind Baby Steps is not the same developer as Human Fall Flat. It is Bennett Foddy. And I just wanted to correct myself here. This was, he's worked on a lot of games. Getting Over It is his big personal game, but he's worked on like Ape Out and things like that as well with other people. He did Bennett Foddy's Speed Chess on his own and that kind of stuff. So I apologize. Totally thought it was a Human Fall Flat developer, but it is actually the guy who did Getting Over It. That's what he's best known for. So just wanted to correct myself there. That's important because, again, I don't like having people thinking other things. So I wanted to do that first. And then are you okay, Steele, or you want to take over?
We're good. We're good. Where you want to go from here?
I don't know. I mean, again, the rest of the show,
kind of the third party updates and stuff like that.
I mean, Foam Stars getting open beta. It looks like Splatoon. People are saying it plays great behind the scenes. I'm hearing it more and more. I have zero interest in it, but it's getting open beta. So I guess everybody's going to be able to go check off Square Enix ripping off Splatoon. So shout out to Foam Stars. But yeah, it was DLC and third party stuff for the most part. Up until that point. Avatar. Did Avatar, the new showing of Avatar, do anything for you, Steele?
I felt like it looked better than what we saw from Ubisoft last time. I like that maybe there's they put some more polish in there. It does look a bit more polished. But outside of that, I'm not going to be able to play that game in third person. I would rather play that game in third person than the first. I mean, I like Avatar for what it is, but it just, I don't know. I have so many questions about how Ubisoft kind of goes in their worlds, and another big expansive open world. I don't know if this is going to pull me into that, but I don't know. I'm not planning on playing it day one. It didn't look any. I didn't see anything that was like, oh yeah, now I really want to play it. It just looked like a better version than what we saw before.
Yeah. To me, it still doesn't do enough. Again, as a fan of Avatar, the first movie, at least I haven't watched the second one, but as a big fan of the first Avatar, I've seen a ton of, I watched Avatar 1 a lot, more than 15 times.
Second one is on par, if not a little bit better.
That's what I heard. And eventually I'll get around to seeing it again. I just don't want to watch movies like I used to. But the fact is that this game, there's moments where I see obviously Far Cry and I'm like, okay, it's going to be another bread and butter Ubisoft just dressed in Avatar, which is cool to me. That's not a problem. I don't have a problem. But then there's other parts of it where I just go, I don't like this. Like the story part is just not hitting me.
It's like you're trying to redo the first movie, but not even at the same level. It's like it's not even hitting me the same way. It's just
So this is Matt and I talked about next year. Ubisoft has a lineup of games, and I really want to play Mirage. But am I going to play Mirage with Starfield being out? No, probably not day one. I want to play Mirage. But now Ubisoft has this lineup of games coming out over the next 4 or 5 months or so here, Steele, where I think I might join Ubisoft Plus for a month next year. And hop in and try this stuff out, right? And play these games. And I think that's where I'm at with this now. It's nice to see Ubisoft finally putting out games because it's been a while. But at the same time, I just Avatar just, it had its moments, like you said. It's got beautiful moments too.
Mhm.
But then it's got these other parts where I'm just like, yeah, I'm not feeling this. So I don't really think this new trailer did anything more for me to change where I stand on Avatar. It's not something I'm necessarily looking forward to. It's something I'll play eventually, is where I'm getting to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tales of Arise getting new DLC 2 years after it launched, which is crazy.
Yeah,
Bandai
it's
Namco.
cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Tales of Rise obviously sold well for Bandai because they're putting out DLC. So, you know, I think that's cool. 2 years later, it looks great. Again, I got to get to Tales of Arise. I played the demo, loved the hell out of the demo. I know you thought it was a good game. You dropped off of it, but you thought it was a good game. Yep. I want to play Tales, but again, where I'm going to do that, I don't know. Roblox finally coming to PS4.
That was interesting.
That's a big announcement.
That.
Again, cool. We can laugh all we want. Millions upon millions upon millions of people. It has been a console exclusive to Xbox this entire time. It is extremely popular. It is a moneymaker left and right. They now even have a dating app within Roblox, which is again Roblox for people who have kids playing Roblox. Like Matt said on Thursday, please watch what your kids are getting into on Roblox. There's a lot of nastiness in Roblox that comes off as, oh, this is a kid's thing. No, it ain't a kid's thing. So anyways, Roblox coming to PS4 finally is a big deal for them, even though most of us could care freaking less. It is a big win for them. That's it. Otherwise, VR2 stuff. I think Resident Evil and Ghostbusters VR2.
But that's first party, Pong. You know, VR came out. PlayStation has won the year because there's so much first party games that released this year with VR.
They got third party exclusives with their VR2. Great. Congratulations.
Man, look, man, you're just denying that first party greatness that they've released with their VR.
It's not first party, damn it.
What? No way. But they made it.
Oh God. Anyways, yeah, let's move on. Overall, Steel, if I had to give a show score again, I always do it in a vacuum. I don't compare them to anything else. For me, with Final Fantasy VII, and again, these are two games that I really don't care about. Again, Final Fantasy VII, once it's complete and it's all the games are out, whatever they're going to do this trilogy, fine. Maybe I'll check it out then. But overall, just the showing 6.5. I'm sitting in that range. I thought it was a decent show. Nothing to write home about, but I thought overall they did good. I know a lot of Xbox fans said it was terrible. I wouldn't go as far as say it was terrible. I think Spider-Man 2 and Final Fantasy 7 and Helldivers 2
it helped it out a lot. Yeah.
But it's 6.5. I give it, a mid-range grade right around there. So,
yeah, I would probably give it right around I'd probably give it about a 7. Right. I think 7 is a good grade. I mean, again,
it's an IGN good.
Yeah, exactly. See how these things work. But no, I think it really fits in that space mainly because, again, like you said, if Spider-Man 2 wouldn't have been there, Final Fantasy wouldn't have been there, if Helldivers wouldn't have been there, I think they would have dropped the score down to like 3.
The blog post for the rest of it.
Yeah, for sure. But because of those, they presented well. Again, to our point, Spider-Man showed off much better than the original one. Final Fantasy, that sold us. That's actually did much better for me than the original trailer did also. It's sort of a lot more. They pulled out a lot more emotion and a lot more tension out of what we're shown this time around. And the Helldivers just seem to be really cool, man. And it's one of those games, especially with it coming to PC, where I'll be interested in playing it day one. Again, was it anything that was like, oh, these are system seller things for me? No, unfortunately. Now, I do agree with some of the chat. Is Spider-Man 2 going to be a system seller for a lot of people? Yeah. Sony's going to sell it as such. And it should be for the people that are interested in that. I don't think it's enough, and I don't think there's enough of a change for it to qualify as such from what I've seen. But again, we won't know. I want to, again, for me, because I liked what I already got from out of the first game, I'd like to see much more detail added to it. I'd like to see many more things happening within the city to make it feel more alive, and to give me that experience than anything else. But yeah, man, I definitely give it about a 7 out of 10. It wasn't terrible, wasn't the greatest, but it was all right. It was good. It was about average.
It was all right. Yep.
Feel good about it.
I agree.
Let's see here. Where do we want to go from here? I know you said the Nintendo Direct happened that same day also. I didn't get to see the Nintendo Direct, unfortunately. I did see some people talking about it, like Luigi's Mansion. No, the one that stuck out to me the most is the fact that they're redoing Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. That's one of my favorite Mario games of all time. That Paper Mario.
There's people like you that think that Paper Mario is the best. It's crazy, man.
I liked Paper Mario for what it was. Again, I don't know why that one spoke to me more than any of the other Marios did, other than Mario 64, because that's kind of a classic. But that's also because of like when it came out, 3D gaming and all that good stuff too. But yeah, Paper Mario 1000 Year Door. I wasn't expecting for them to do a remake of it. And it looks good, man. It definitely is. There's a night and day difference there. But again, I would hope so. It's not like the old game was anything extravagant. But again, I think it would be something that I would get on Switch. And then emulate on PC just to have some fun with it, maybe relive some memories and whatnot. But yeah, it was really cool for me to see. That was my main takeaway. I didn't have anything else.
Like I said, Nintendo's having a hell of a year, and they're going to have a hell of a rest of this year into next year as they drop all of this stuff out of the blue steel. Like this is stuff that people didn't think were coming back.
Exactly.
They're bringing back. And again, as much as I have zero interest in Nintendo right now, I still got to give them props because they're giving their fans a lot of what they wanted, like some things that they didn't expect. Now they still are holding on other things that like should have been, like Metroid Prime, obviously, that should have been here. But I think that they've got a plan for Switch 2 because again, Nintendo, if there's one company I had to pick to launch a new system with quality games that are going to system sell right out the gate, it's Nintendo. Like Sega used to do this, like their Dreamcast lineup is still probably the greatest launch lineup of gaming in history. But Nintendo knows how to do this. So I think they're holding some of that. But the fact that they are giving people like you, Steele, like something to get excited about, crazy, like Paper Mario that people didn't think they were going to go back to, right? They also, Luigi's Mansion 2, HD remake, another great one that people absolutely, there's a certain fan base that in Nintendo that loves Luigi's Mansion. They're dropping that. Again, they showed off Super Mario RPG again, which is going to be big, gigantic. Some people consider that the best JRPG of all time.
Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remastered.
I was just going to say, I was getting to this, Steele.
What?
I was getting this. There's two things out of this. Shout out to Mav, first of all, if he's still listening in the chat. Shout out to Mav, who shocked and awed me legitimately. I snorted, which I never snort on air, but he got me to snort because shout out to Mav, who is interested and will be potentially, and I think he's about at 80% right now, will be picking up and streaming Trombone Champ.
Oh, wow.
Mav was a horn player. He was all regional. I had no idea about this, but he wants to play Trombone Champ, which was announced at this show. Out of all the games we talked about that night, we had a 15-20 minute conversation about Trombone Champ because Mav was actually kind of excited for it. So anyway, shout out to Mav.
Wow.
But there was two games that got me. And I'll do a side quick shout out as well to Prince of Persia Lost to Crown.
Oh, wow.
Whether or not I play that game, they showed it off again.
Yeah.
I think it looks fantastic. I know the music choice for the first time they showed it off didn't hit everybody. And I kind of agree. There's certain, musical choices that go better with certain games. And I would have liked to seen it, but I don't care about that. Yeah. I care about the gameplay and the gameplay looked fantastic. And I don't know why people were down on this game when it came to that part. But again, I'm not even a big Prince of Persia fan, but I thought it looked cool. And this showing looked really cool again too. But I got to give shout out to two games and one you just brought up, which came out of the blue. Yet again, another surprise that nobody really had heard about. Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3 getting remastered. And it's not just coming to Switch, it's coming to everything, which is fantastic to hear. Listen, again, nostalgia freak here, all about it. I will be getting this collection. I will be going back and playing Lara yet again through what I think, especially in 1 and 2, are two of the greatest adventure games of all time. I think
was that PlayStation 1?
Yeah, PlayStation
Bro.
1. They rounded it out. No more triangle
That's fine.
boobies.
That's fine.
Okay, no more triangle boobies. We're good there. So we're rounding it out.
Perfect.
I'm assuming, like Mav said, that they're going to update the controls, so the
That would have
controls
to.
will be
Yeah,
much feel,
more
yeah,
tank
which will
style
be much
before,
better. I'm all about nostalgia. I don't need a ground up remake. If you just give me a quality remaster of an old games that I beloved, I will play them again. And this is one of them. I'm going to get this collection. It's coming to Xbox, it's coming to PlayStation. And this is coming on February 14th. Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3 was a big announcement. I think it's cool as hell. I can't wait because that's when Tomb Raider was Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
The puzzling aspects, there are puzzles in there that were holy shit hell back in the day because we didn't have internet like we do now. Okay. So there was no just quick YouTube search and finding out the answers. Like we sat, I remember sitting with my buddy and we sat in one of those Tomb Raider puzzles for like an hour and a half trying to figure it out. Like it was crazy. So I can't wait to go back and relive those memories. Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3 collection was great. The other one I want to bring up, Steel, again, in my bag, in Mav's bag. This is a big one because this will be the first time ever a Vanillaware game has shown up on Xbox. And for people who don't know Vanillaware, I'll give you two names. If you have a chance to go and play them, please do so. Dragon's Crown is one that I always bring up, right? Dragon's Crown is one of the best side-scrolling RPGs ever. And Vanillaware has the top tier tier hand-drawn animation. That's what makes them unique. It is gorgeous. Dragon's Crown is one of them. Wish they would bring that to current gen. I would love to see an update on that one. But Dragon's Crown and then Odin Sphere. Odin Sphere is the other one that I played. I had the collector's edition. Odin Sphere, simply brilliant game, beautiful. Oh my God, just aesthetic. Anyways, we get announced that Vanillaware's new game, Unicorn Overlord.
Okay.
And it's published by Atlas, Xbox's new best friends, thanks to Sega, thanks to that Sega deal that everybody said didn't mean anything when they said that when they got into a partnership with Sega for helping them out with their new big game, super game initiative, I think it is, or whatever the hell it was, helping them with the cloud. Everybody said, it's just a business deal. They're just going to help them with the cloud, give them Azure servers, blah, blah, blah. We all were out here going, nah, this is going to get some stuff. So lo and behold, Atlas games started showing up like Personas, right? Well, Atlas publishes Vanillaware. So Atlas, we're getting on Xbox, right? This is not skipping. And this turns out to be Vanillaware is not doing an action-based game. They're doing a turn-based tactics game.
Oh, wow.
I am all about this game. This will be day one for me next year. This is coming out on March the 8th. Go watch the videos. If you guys have any interest in turn-based tactics, this reminds obviously Mav of Final Fantasy Tactics and myself. Final Fantasy Tactics, you can cultivate an army of over 60 distinct characters in this game. So you got a lot of choices to make with your parties and all that kind of stuff. But the hand-drawn animation, gorgeous, absolutely Vanillaware. I saw it when I first saw it on screen. I didn't know it was Vanillaware. And I'm like, oh my God, is this Vanillaware? Oh my God. Other people have imitated this. There's a lot of beautiful games out there that have done this, but there's just something about Vanillaware that hits a little different. And I was like, oh my God, it's Vanillaware. Oh my God, what is this game? And then I saw it was turn-based tactics. Then I saw Atlas publishing it. And then of course, it was during the Nintendo show. I went online and everybody's like, coming to PlayStation, coming to Xbox. I'm like, yes, thank you. So Unicorn Overlord was the other one that definitely knocked it out of the park for me, Steel. Really great showing from Nintendo here. Again, they are winning. This year is just huge for Nintendo fans. Everybody that loves Nintendo and is on a Switch is getting so much. Detective Pikachu got shown off again. Yeah. I mean, the new Peach game got shown off. They dropped new DLC coming for Mario Kart 8, one of their games as a service. Like they are not, again, it feels like they just held on to this big boatload of stuff and we're like, okay, we're getting ready to drop Switch 2, so let's just drop all this stuff right now for our fans. And it's coming off great. So I thought this was a cool show.
I do think that this also leaves some credence to what you mentioned before about the backwards compatibility, because I know we brought that up in the conversation. I feel like this is them leaning towards they're going to have backwards compatibility for the Switch 2, which is, again, maybe. It seems like common sense to do,
Not
but
sold.
Nintendo doesn't like common sense a lot of the time from what we seen in the past. So if they do end up doing backwards compatibility, I do think that not only the Nintendo's, I think the set of Switch systems are going to be the greatest consoles ever sold across history.
Sure.
And it's going, I don't think there's going to be any other console that's going to be able to get close for quite some time if they do this launch right. Because with the Switch 2, especially if they have backwards compatibility, it's going to make it extremely easy and enticing. If they drop the Switch 2 for about $400 and they can get the original OG Switch down to, I mean, anywhere between, especially with you having a Switch Lite.
Yep.
If you can go if you can get the Switch Lite down to $99.
Ooh, I don't know if they'll do that.
I'm talking about the Lite, because the Lite's already kind of cheap.
Yeah.
And then and then get like the OLED down to like 159 or like a 149 somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
Bro, you're talking about it's just going to be stupid how much sense it's going to make for you to just get one, right?
I said this too. I don't mean to jump in on your toes here, but again, I think this is an interesting conversation because everybody knows that I'm not interested in Nintendo. Okay, here's what I said on the PM and the PM this week. Everything I'm hearing about the Switch 2, they're leaning it. If all the smoke is real and they've leaned into NVIDIA and they are actually taking quite a big leap here, right? It's still not going to be Series X or not be PS5, right? But if they are taking the leap and they're going to lean into NVIDIA's tech and the DLSS and they come out with a handheld, again, I'm not a handheld player anymore. Would I use it if I had it? Sure. I could see instances where I would, but overall, that's not what I'm looking for. If they make the docking mode and they bring that up to speed, Steel, and it looks good, I'm not saying it has to look fantastic, but with that tech, if it looks good on my big screen, Steel, and they include backwards compatibility, right? And so there's this library and there's a few games, Fire Emblem series, right? Xenoblade Chronicles that I want to go play that I have been missing out on because outside of some of those, but if they bring the tech up and now third parties are interested in making games for the Switch 2 more so than they have been in the past due to tech limitations, if all of that comes to fruition, Nintendo might have me interested still. They might get me to think about it. Right? Because that's all I need from them. I haven't asked for the world. I would love for them to try to compete with Xbox and Sony again as current tech goes. I know they're not going to do that anymore. It's not their business model.
They don't need to. Yeah.
But if they can do that, I'm still not going to be interested in Zelda. Still not going to be interested in Mario. I don't care about those franchises at all. I respect them. Just don't care about them. They're not the games for me.
That's fair.
But if they can do this right and all this smoke, supposedly they had the Matrix Unreal demo running on the Switch 2 hardware, within spec limitations, obviously. Again, I'm not saying it's the same, but I'm saying the fact that they could get a UE5 demo running on it tells me something, right? So if all that comes to fruition, Nintendo might have me interested in actually picking it up if the backwards compatibility is there. And I'm still not sold that they're going to do it, but if they do it and I can go back and buy some of those Switch games like Xenoblade Chronicles and, like Fire Emblem, and maybe they even perform and look a little bit better on the Switch 2, then I might be in on this deal, which is saying something because I haven't owned a Nintendo system myself personally. My kids have. I haven't owned a Nintendo system personally since Super Nintendo. So I'm just saying it may happen still.
Yeah, that would be again, there's a lot of things that are leading in the right direction for Nintendo. At least reaching more into the audience for those of us who care about the quality of games that are coming to the platform. And again, it also seems like Nintendo's maybe a little bit more awake than they were previously, and that they're coming to understand or make their presence more known. So again, we'll see what comes out of it.
We'll see.
We'll see what comes out.
We'll see. Think about a Switch 2 dropping with new Metroid Prime, taking full advantage of that tech, and a new Super Mario 3D, which they haven't done in a while. Can you imagine, bro? The internet would break.
Yeah, I mean,
people would lose their shit.
It's gonna be extremely enticing, and as long as they keep playing that note and then don't all of a sudden want to do a Wii U or something like that, I think they'll continue to do fine. Again, they found their niche, as quote unquote, if you want to call it that.
It's a big niche.
I say they found their niche. They found their area, right?
Dominant.
And as long as they stick within that, I don't see how anybody else could possibly compete outside of like a Steam Deck or a ROG Ally, which is again a completely different that's a completely different platform, double the price in most cases. So it's going to be cool to see though, man. If it is true that DLSS is going to be, especially with DLSS 3.0, NVIDIA's in there, and as long as you can give software updates to make it continuously take advantage of whatever hardware that they put in there, they're moving in the right direction, which is that's dope for me to see, at least. From Nintendo, that's kind of been off and on, trying to figure out what worked for them, what doesn't work for them. And again, maybe they'll sell cardboard with the Nintendo Switch too. So
no, don't do that. We don't need to go back to that. We don't need.
You don't need an IKEA box with your Nintendo Switch?
No, sir.
Oh,
Again, that not for me. Again, it was still for a lot of people. Like, shout out to them. They made a lot of money off of cardboard. I give them props. Respect that hustle, bro. Respect that hustle. They always will. And I see a lot of people in here talking about how they still have nostalgia for Nintendo. Nintendo will always have a place. Shout out to all of you. Again, I was a Sega guy. I was a Sega kid. Once I went Sega, there was no looking back. And I missed out on some things, certainly that I would have played, but there was never enough from Nintendo because I was not interested in their major franchises. I borrowed, Game Boy Advances from my kids to play Fire Emblem back in the day and that kind of stuff. But outside of those one-offs, I just lost all interest in owning anything Nintendo. It just wasn't my bag.
Right.
Like I said, this is the first time in a very long time where what I'm hearing is piquing my interest, right? It is raising my awareness of Nintendo right now, which is saying a whole hell of a lot. So, but backwards compatibility is a must. Like Sappho, I'm not sold. Like Sappho said, Nintendo has zero problem selling their fans multiple versions of the same game over and over and over again. And I could totally see a Switch 2 Zelda Tears of the Kingdom 60 frames version to be resold because there's no backwards compatibility. I can totally see it happening. It's just me.
We'll see.
So
I can't disagree, but we'll definitely see. Hopefully they get the point and we can.
But again, we'll see. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun, man. It's kind of exciting that Nintendo's coming out with new hardware. No, even if I don't have the most interest right now, but we'll see.
It's
fun.
Shout out to the Brody in the chat, the Airman himself, Titanium. What's going on?
What's going on, brother?
How you feeling, Brody? Hopefully everything's going well for you, man. We did talk. No, Sappho, you just mentioned did you guys talk about the Unity debacle yet? No, we haven't. Before we get into that, Pong, if you don't mind, if you want to kind of lead the conversation about the whole Unity thing, if you're ready. But real quick, I do, since we talked about Starfield earlier, we didn't mention this part of it. Starfield is now streamable with NVIDIA GeForce, so that's a good thing to see. I haven't had the best experience with cloud gaming.
Sure.
And this week I've had some time to really more so dive into that cloud experience, especially over Wi-Fi. And it's decent Wi-Fi. I'm not talking about anything like anything amazing or anything like that, but it was decent. It's definitely fast enough to be able to handle whatever I needed, especially outside the recommended spec. What they recommend for speeds and whatnot. I was doing like 30 megs of upload or whatever, but it was above that. And it's right now it's not for me. Again, I do think it is solidified for me that also I'm not a mobile gamer. I am interested in seeing how things are going to progress with cloud gaming on other devices like a TV, being able to be other places and have access to that content is really dope, but it still bothers me as far as the lag goes. It just doesn't make the experience feel good. Maybe if I got into a new game from the very beginning through cloud, maybe that would change and I wouldn't have this preconceived notion or expectation, especially for like Starfield, because I tried it through Parsec and I also tried it through Xbox Cloud streaming, and either one that I did, it just didn't feel good for me. So I mean, but it is dope for those who have GeForce now. So shout out to you guys. Starfield is also supposedly getting DLSS. It's supposed to be getting some brightness and contrast controls, HDR calibration, field of view slider. What else? Ultra wide monitor support and an eat button for food. I think this is actually an update. This came out with the update that they most recently dropped. The eat button for this, it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming. Okay. Because I do know that there was another update that was dropped for Starfield recently.
There was a performance one that was dropped that was kind of shoring up some little things here and there that did drop. Yeah.
That's what I'm
this is their future patch that they're talking about here that they understand that they're talking about that they're going to put out later. So yeah.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. So to see, I saw I was listening to Ray and Jazz talk about it a little bit. A lot of these things do seem like quality of life things that would kind of be there from the beginning, like because there's one of those things that you typically have in all other games, as far as options go, especially like brightness control and things of that nature. I did find that weird when I booted up Starfield for the first time, and because those are things that you mess with initially,
correct,
just to make sure that things are looking the way that you want them. And when I didn't see that there, I was like, that's really weird. Or field the view slider, because that's one of the biggest complaints right now, at least for me, that I have, especially in this ship. And when you start building bigger ships, it's like the camera pulls itself in too far sometimes. And then I was looking it up, and there were like people were like, "Oh yeah, if you add a piece." Because I added like a window to the front of one of my ships. They were like, yeah, if it extends out past a certain point, it zooms in. The camera zooms in more on the ship, and it was like, bro. It's got me literally on top of the booster, like, as far as the camera goes. And it's like, I can't see anything else outside of space. I got this big ass ship that's taking 3/4 of my screen.
Flying from first person, so I don't.
Oh, see, so you wouldn't even notice it.
I do cockpit
but
view.
when you're in third person, it's like, it's so zoomed in sometimes where it's like, bro, if anybody attacked me right now, maybe I can make it work, but I would not be able to focus on anything else that's going on outside of this, top half of the screen, not even top half, it's like top quarter of the screen that I could see. That's actually of space area. So that seeing that come in, again, a lot of these things, they are smaller things. Jez was kind of leaning towards the direction that maybe these are some things that were left on the cutting room floor when they got the base game together, and then they're like, oh, well, we're gonna work on polishing the game up. I do have questions about that, because these are things that you shouldn't have left on the cutting room floor, right? They're like,
this is the stuff I was talking about, right? Where I was like, come on, Bethesda, really?
Right.
You didn't know in 2023 that your people were going to be crying for it, and maybe it was a matter of fact that they didn't have time. But that's very weird. Well. It's weird things, quality of life, little things that like you're like, why? What problems did you run into?
But this wasn't
implementing a brightness controls for FOV is one thing, right? Because we know that it does affect performance and all that kind of stuff. But like things like brightness control, like eating the food, which is a staple, like not having to pick it up. Some of those little quality life things, I'm like, why were those not in there? Like that's weird to me, but whatever.
Again, if it wasn't a focus, it wasn't a focus. But it does come across strange. Like, why did it take the community to come out to complain about these things for you to say, oh, we need to implement? I don't know. That is a little weird to me, but it is what it is. Also, Xbox announced some more things about Xbox Game Pass Core, because I think it officially came out, didn't it? The different tiers of Xbox stuff. So now
officially launched.
So now you have that out there. They're planning to add 2 to 3 new games a year. I do think from what I've seen from Game Pass Core, I still feel as though it's unnecessary. I feel
option.
Like, I mean, of course, it's always an option.
It's an option.
It's one of those things though. Like if somebody asked me, yo, Steel, should I get a Game Pass Core or should I just get Ultimate? I would still tell you to get Ultimate because you're getting more bang for your buck. But I mean, I guess if you're trying to save a few dollars, You could get in the core.
I'm never going to defend the companies
I
like
just
this.
don't get
Again,
it.
we should have
For
free
me.
online play. It doesn't make any sense. Again, I know it's wrapped in their business model now because they've had it for so long.
Right.
It is a stream of revenue that is included in their money making. Like, I get the business side of it, but I will never defend billion-trillion-dollar companies who take that approach, like that they can't give back after all this time, after we know for a fact that PC players do not pay for online gaming. Why the hell do console players still get footed the bill? Like, I will never defend this. I still think they should have done away with all of it, and just it done away with all the pay to play online stuff. They should have done away with all of that, gotten rid of the core tier, offered the bonuses for the ultimate tier, and just basically had one tier at this point. No need for 2 tiers, no need for 3 tiers. Like, just give me
Base
the
tier,
full boat. Yeah, the base tier or the full boat, whatever the case may be. Offer up the free games to play in the base tier, and that's it. So that's I will never defend this, and I've spoken out about it. It's PlayStation. Again, PlayStation's even more egregious because you're paying for your saves, your cloud saves, which I think is way out of bounds. Like, holy shit! Like, really?
And then they punish you for it if you don't. If you don't invest
you
within a certain
lose
amount
your
of time.
saves, which is crazy. So, all that being said, they're doing this. It is, this is the final form right now. I think the list of games they have included is decent, especially for somebody. Again, let's be real. Let's be real, Steel. The core is made for the people just jumping into the ecosystem for the first time. A lot of it, right?
Because they'll probably upgrade from there, right? They'll see like, oh wow,
that's the
have
master
these games,
plan.
Then, it sounds like
that's their drive behind the scenes. Absolutely, Steel. Give them a taste, and they're gonna want more. Those that stick around, and they'll upgrade anyways, right? So that is the psychological part of it.
Yeah.
So, again, I will never defend it.
And that's why I have to add on to your point, Bong, where it's just like, I can't defend it because it just seems.
It's slimy, bro.
It is like you're just getting into my pocket. You're getting into my pocket to get me to then spend. Like, why not? You might as well just tell me what I'm getting at. I'd rather have that. I'd rather Ultimate be the base. Well, not Ultimate per se, because I understand that not everybody has a PC. Ultimate's more so if you have a PC included, but at least just have just Game Pass. It be its own thing. You get all access to Game Pass content, and then boom, you can upgrade to Ultimate for $5 additional, or whatever the case, and get access to your PC games if you have that.
Correct.
$9.99 to $14.99. I think it would have been a much better way to go about that. It would have made much more sense for people. Shout out to the Dreamcast.
Shout out to Dreamcast guy jumping in here. I love this shit, man.
Oh, God, you guys are fucking stupid. Hey, and if you're the real Dreamcast guy, shout out to you.
Not using that picture, I can guarantee it.
I hope that. But lead us. So coming off the heels of that, lead us into this whole thing with what's going on with Unity or whatnot, man. What's the deal with that stuff?
Yeah, so this is big, and obviously I'm not, I don't pay the closest attention to obviously the engine stuff, but obviously I, well aware what Unity means to a lot of developers, especially indie developers. Again, Unity and Unreal are the two big ones where they offer really great entry points nowadays, with where we've seen the indie scene explode. And obviously a lot of indie teams are putting out content that is on par with your bigger developers because of the opportunity they have with Unity and Unreal. And obviously those are the two major ones. I know there's other ones out there, but those are the two major players. And Unity decided to make changes this week. And these changes, they're complex. I don't understand all of them.
Right.
So I'm going to read from Windows Central. Shout out to Jez, and shout out to who else? Zachary Bodie over at Windows Central, who kind of have continued to update the situation as it's gone on, because it's been changing throughout the week. So I'll start with kind of their original article that they wrote earlier this week. I think it was September the 12th, if I'm correct. Hold on, let me see here. Hold on, let me bring it back here. There we go. Okay, so yeah, this article was originally published. They've been doing constant updates as things have been changing because it's ever evolving here. For those that don't know, I don't know the dude's name. I really don't care to know the dude's name. Unity's CEO is the former head over at EA.
Right.
This is the dude I was kind of filling in steel behind the scenes. If you guys remember, I don't care about him because this guy obviously has got a whole different mindset than I want really in this gaming industry, but it is what it is. Again, business is business, whatever. But this is the guy who, when he was at EA, said, and I'm going to paraphrase here, that as a game developer, if you're not developing your game from the ground up with monetization in mind, like as the priority, then you are fucking stupid. That was a direct quote. He used fucking stupid, like in his quote, like that is him, right? He also said and was brainstorming, let's say, of the idea of a game like Battlefield of charging players per reload on their weapon.
Yeah, you're telling me that behind the scenes. That's fucking crazy.
This gives you the idea, the mindset this gentleman has taken over Unity. So I'll read from this. This article was originally published on September 12th, 2023. Developers have begun openly decrying the new changes at Unity, requesting the company go back on the new per install fees lest they forced to abandon the game engine in favor of something else. One notable example comes from Agro Crab. Let's see here. Let me start down here. Actually, let me start down here. Let me see if I got yeah, no, that's fine. I'll just continue here. Sorry. I was just trying to see if there was a better point to start, but this is pretty much it. It'll give us the rundown. One notable example comes from Agro Crab Games, which is working on the highly anticipated Another Crab's Treasure coming to Xbox, Windows PC, and Xbox Game Pass in 2024. They put out a statement. Today, Unity, the engine we use to make our games, announced that they'll soon be taking a fee from developers for every copy of the game installed over a certain threshold, regardless of how that copy was obtained. Guess who has a somewhat highly anticipated game coming to Xbox Game Pass 2024? That's right. It's us and a lot of other developers. That means Another Crab's Treasure will be free to install for the 25 million Game Pass subscribers. If a fraction of those users download our game, Unity could take a fee that puts an enormous dent on our income and threatens the sustainability of our business. And that's before we even think about sales on other platforms or pirated installs of our game, or even multiple installs by the same user. This decision puts us and countless other studios in a position where we may not be able to justify using Unity for our future titles. If these changes aren't rolled back, we'll be heavily considering abandoning our wealth of Unity expertise we've accumulated over the years and starting from scratch in a new engine, which is really something we'd rather not to do. On behalf of the dev community, we are calling on Unity to reverse the latest in a string of short-sighted decisions that seem to prioritize shareholders over their product's actual users. I fucking hate it here. That was a quote from their post. Okay. The Agro Crabs team expressed concerns that Unity's new model will disproportionately affect indie developers, especially those that take advantage of Xbox Game Pass to reach huge new swaths of potential players. If even a fraction of over the 25 million Xbox Game Pass subscribers download Agro Crab Games title built on Unity, for example, the resulting fee could significantly hurt the studio and its ability to continue to produce games. The reaction from Unity's decision to implement a per install fees on games above a certain level of success has been almost unerringly negative from both developers and the video game community. It remains to be seen if the public outcry will affect Unity's decision, but we will keep this space updated with every new development. Unity is a popular game and app development platform, often touted for its cross-platform friendliness and accessibility to smaller teams. Unity has been at the forefront of independent development for some time, although a string of unpopular changes in the past couple of years have dramatically battered its image. The changes kicked kicked off in line with its public stock exchange listing a couple of years back, generally speaking, as it seeks to compete with Unreal Engine and others in an increasingly competitive and volatile market. Volatile indeed, as these recent changes to Unity's revenue models threatens to upend the entire businesses and plunge projects into turmoil before they even gotten off the ground. Unity's new model will see developers pay a monthly fee per installation, scaling up at certain thresholds, and then they do a breakdown. So that kind of kicked off this week, and it wasn't just like aggro crab, like the article suggested. The developers from behind Cult of the Lamb, obviously a huge success on Xbox, Game Pass, developed or published by Devolver Digital. Cult of the Lamb, I loved Cult of the Lamb until I lost save, and I got to get back to it at some point. Anyways, they came out and said they actually came out in a statement and said, hey, just want everybody to know with what's going on with Unity, please purchase Cult of the Lamb now because we will be delisting our game if these changes go through. Flat out just pulling their game from the market. Right. We had people like In Exile jump out as well and post a meme, again, paraphrasing, said hey, you know that game you published 10 years ago? Yeah, we're going to start collecting fees on it. Us. Yeah, no, thank you. So again, developers in unison out here were like, no, we're not doing this. There was another, Slay the Spire developer came out and said basically the same thing that this aggro crab team said. They've been working on their new game for like 3 years. They're getting close to the finish line. They said, if these changes go through, we will have to seriously considering stopping the project, finding a new engine, and starting from scratch again. We will not be putting our game out underneath these terms. So this was universal. Now, later, September the 13th, the following day, Unity came out with an update. They clarifications. Unity has issued some clarifications around certain aspects of the deal, although it continues to endure heavy criticism from every side in the industry. Stephen Totilo of Axis reported that Unity intends to pass on the costs for installation fees to Microsoft and other subscription providers for services like Game Pass and PlayStation Plus. We've reached out to Microsoft to comment on this since it appears that Unity seems to making its policies up as it goes along. Unity also said that it will waive all installation fees for developers who adopt its ads platform on mobile in a coercive move, which one developer at a major mobile publisher stated to me could be in breach of the EU contractual law. George Broussard of 3D Realms fame also reported that Unity was warned internally that it would be hammered for failure to clarify things like fraud and Xbox Game Pass, but shipped the blog post anyways. Outlets like Eurogamer have also highlighted the fact that Unity's CEO and other execs mysteriously offloaded a bunch of stock in the past couple months as if they knew this particular announcement would be incredibly popular. Yes, you heard right. They sold off big patches of stock. You can look up the stats, knowing that they were going to be putting this memo out, right? That they were going to be putting these changes out there, obviously knowing what it was going to do. As of this writing, Unity is sticking to its guns despite companies like Among Us, Inner Sloth, and Cult of the Lamb publisher Devolver Digital implying or outright confirming plans to move away from Unity as a platform. All right, so that happened. Then the company issued a lengthy statement on September 14th, or actually the night of the September 13th, regarding its proposed changes. Although it fell short of rolling back or changing course, various major developers of all shapes and sizes continue to pledge to either delete their games from Steam to prevent such retroactive gamings while committing further games to different engines, such as Unreal. Developers continue to criticize the firm despite the below post owing to widespread abuse of trust. So Unity's post, and I'll read their direct post. We want to acknowledge the confusion and frustration we heard after we announced our new runtime fee policy. We'd like to clarify some of our top questions and some of your top questions and concerns. Who is impacted by this price increase? This price increase is very targeted. In fact, more than 90% of our customers will not be affected by this change. Customers who will be impacted are generally those who have found a substantial scale in downloads and revenue and have reached both our install and revenue thresholds. This means a low or no fee for creators who have not found scale success yet and a modest one-time fee for those who have. fees on new installs only. Once you meet the 2 install and revenue thresholds, you will only pay a runtime fee on new installs after January 1st, 2024. It is not perpetual. You only pay once for an install, not an ongoing perpetual license royalty like a revenue share model. How we define and count installs, assuming the install and revenue thresholds are met, we will only count net new installs on any device starting January 1st, 2024. Additionally, developers are not responsible for paying a runtime fee. On reinstall charges, we are not going to charge a fee for reinstalls. Fraudulent install charges, we are not going to charge a fee for fraudulent installs. We will work directly with you on a case-by-case basis where fraud or botnets are suspected of malicious intent.
Okay.
Again, not an absolute statement. We'll work with you. And they're supposedly going to use some type of AI to detect this stuff. Okay. Trials, partially played demos, and automation installs charges. We are not going to count these towards your install count. Early access games are not considered demos. Web and streaming games. We are not going to count web and streaming games towards your install count either. Charity related installs. The pricing change in install count will not be applied to your charity bundles and initiatives. Again, they got a reader's added context added to this post that states, this is from the community.
Okay.
Obviously, Unity states that only 10% of their customers will be affected, making it sound less bad than it is. As of the Gaming Report 2022, Unity had 230,000 developers. That's around 23,000 developers affected by this change. Lots of studios have posted statements about moving engines. All right. This is a lot, folks. I know it is. It's complicated because of what the subject matter is, right, unfortunately. So, needless to say, the updates have continued. They've doubled down in the meantime. They were going to hold a kind of forum. Okay. They were going to hold a forum. They wound up getting credible death threats. Now, people thought this was coming from developers. They thought this was coming from maybe gamers. They got credible death threats. They canceled the meeting and actually closed 2 locations of theirs down. Damn. Okay, due to these threats. Mm-hmm. It turns out those threats, according to the police department, were internal threats.
Okay.
It came from the inside of Unity. All right. So we got all that clarified. So basically, Steele, you've got the lowdown of where we're at as of right now. Mm-hmm. Nothing has happened since then, okay, outside of the police department confirming that those were internal threats.
Okay.
This is huge, Steele. As you can tell by the outcry, this is a universal outcry from developers, from gamers, from people in the community, from people who understand what's going on here. This would have a major impact on the gaming industry if Unity goes forward with this. This is not a good move. Obviously, again, you've got what seems to be some insider trading going on. Yeah. The higher ups selling off stock at its highest points, knowing that they were going to make changes that were going to devastate that stock, at least in the short term. Bro, this is not good for this industry at all. And they still have not decided to fully reverse this stuff. So after hearing all that, Steele, blind, and again, I know it was a lot. What do you think, brother? Just initial thoughts here. What do you think?
Initial thoughts of the situation is fucked up, man. Like it seems like they're limiting people having access to be able to bring their visions to life, right? I thought that was one of the number one things that people liked about the different uses of the engines, right? Because there's a reason why not everybody wants to use Unreal. There's a reason why not everybody wants to use Unity. There's a reason why, especially more of these, not necessarily free source, but especially these engines that seem to be easy to use to get your game together, or get an idea together, and to become a dev that would get some form of recognition, right? So I don't know what the point is in limiting creative vision or making it more difficult to develop a game.
Right.
By essentially, because the benefit of a lot of these engines that are easier to get into is that you don't have to pay a lot of those upfront costs, right? Until you get to a certain point and you get Like, let's say Xbox comes to you, or one of the bigger publishers comes to you and says, hey, we like what you're presenting with this engine. We like to be part of it, whatever extra costs, this, that, and other thing. It seems like an extremely selfish and greedy thing from at the very top. I don't know if this is coming from the board. Maybe they're seeing that maybe people, maybe themselves are getting stiffed. If they've kind of seen that, hey, we got too many developers that are making money off of our engine and we don't see enough of that coming back to us. Maybe it's a very business-centric thing, but I also don't think that they're losing any money really. And again, I'm not an owner of Unity, so I don't know what's happening behind the scenes or whether that's the main crutch of this issue.
Sounds like they're just trying to catch up to UE in terms of revenue, right? They're trying to find their revenue stream and they want to compete with UE, and this is the only way they can do it because they don't have a Fortnite. But if people stop
developing, then what?
Correct. Right. That's the problem here. And I don't know if they do. And Nixie and M. Gene, this, I hear what you guys are saying, but obviously this is not the case. This is developers in unison coming out saying this is bad. And it's not just like small developers, it's big developers coming out. Again, Devolver Digital is one of the biggest indie publishers in the world, and they came out and spoke against this. So it doesn't seem like fake outrage. Again, they doubled down, they clarified, and there was still a lot of problems with their statements, doubling down on what they had already announced, which was resoundingly rejected. So I hear you there. Sure, we have a lot of that times where there is fake outrage from the community, but this is the devs themselves coming out and saying this is bad. People who have seen the actual documents and who are looking over financial statements saying, yeah, no, this isn't going to work. Like, this is bad news. Like, I think that's where it's gone beyond that. So sorry, Steele.
Yeah, and then one of the other things that we kind of talked about behind the scenes, it's like, it does open it up for the system to be abused by the consumer, right? Correct. And that can
by
be
a lot of people, by rivals. By rivals, what's going to be out of business. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And so at that point, for me, I want to see the industry become more welcoming and allow kind of what we've been seeing, allow smaller teams, smaller devs to be able to bring whatever their creative vision is to life, because it adds an additional value to the gaming industry, right? There's things that they can do within these engines. Like for an example, Naraka Blade Point uses Unity. So how is that going to work out per download that they get? If somebody, are they going to be able to sustain that game because of the downloads or re-downloads or however that ends up working? Because they got to keep paying out because people are so upset and they're so up and down. It's because it's a battle royale game. People are going to drop off or are going to uninstall, and people are going to reinstall and jump back in for some time. And if every time that happens, you have to pay out an X amount of dollars to cover that cost. It just seems like it's going, instead of benefiting the engine in making it more accessible, you're doing the complete opposite. And then when you
turn a lot of people off initially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have the type of funds to be able to do both. And again, as a business, do you have the right to say, well, we allowed you to be able to use it for X amount of time? And we haven't seen the
return.
We haven't seen the return that we were looking for from this. And this is our way for alleviating that issue. Sure, you could say that, but are people still going to want to use your engine because of that? Or do you only want certain types of devs to use your engine? Is that what this is turning into? That that's kind of my my overall thoughts about it, because it's kind of hard to dive too deep into it. It is messed up in many ways, because again, something that we always talk about, and that's expanding the industry. This doesn't seem to be doing that. It seems more of like a limitation than anything else. Unfortunately, that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, and again, this is an outrage for me and Steele, because I don't know the situation. I'm taking it from the outside perspective. It looks, and again, when I see devs who are the ones that are directly affected by it in unison come out and say this is not good. And again, let's be real here and let's clarify. There's been more changes in Unity that we haven't talked about that have kind of led up to this moment. This was kind of like the final nail, right? This was the camel that broke or the straw that broke the camel's back. I almost said it backwards. For a lot of devs, right? So this was kind of building up to this point where the new CEO, this dude, has made a lot of changes within Unity that people haven't agreed with, but kind of had just mumbles and rumbles for the most part up to this point. But this one right here, to them, to the devs, is egregious. So all we're doing is just talking about it because it was a big talking point this week. And like I said, if these changes would affect 23,000 developers potentially and cause some of them, any of them, to potentially not be able to work within Unity or go out of business if they did, publish a game and had to pay these fees in any way, shape, or form, then I got to say, I've got to be aligned with them and say that it sounds like it's a very bad news situation. I don't want to see developers be crushed by fees from an engine. Like, I understand the business side, like Steele said, of course, always. Again, you got to, these companies aren't around out of charity. These companies are around because they're money makers, but we've seen time and time again, bad decisions made on behalf of the shareholders over and over and over again in this industry that has led to failures, complete shutdowns of companies, etc. So again, there's no reason not to talk about this when you've got so many people within the industry saying it's bad news. I think it's an interesting conversation because Unity is extremely popular. And this would cause a lot of games to not be made or to be delayed. And again, developers going out of business potentially, that's not good for the industry. So the health of the industry, first and foremost, I don't like it. So again, I'm not outraged. I'm just saying this sounds kind of in line with the CEO's kind of MO, what he was talking about EA. He's kind of transferred over to Unity, and now it's hitting the developers, especially the smaller developers out there. So again, that's where I'm at with it.
Nixie says it's like hearing MS increase Xbox Game Pass costs, and people do the fake outrage thing, and then later find out the increase is 10 cents. And on top of that, many bills people don't sub to Game Pass. And I'll just
that's community.
Yeah, that's community related. This is more so the math point is more so from the dev standpoint and other people that are actually using this for their business. Man, you're using it for your form of creation, and it would be one thing if it was set up like this from the beginning. You kind of know what you're getting yourself into. But it's another thing when it comes across very gray. Like, this is one of those things where you don't necessarily need a gray area. You need to understand what you're getting yourself involved in, how it's going to affect your overall workforce, and what is truly going to be possible. Like, what am I going to have to come out of pocket for? Is it worth me using this? Maybe I need to use a different engine. I mean, when you hear a dev say that we've spent 3 years developing in this environment, and then now say, oh, well, because of these things, we're going to pull out of this and just go to a different, that's a waste of time. That's money, time, and effort that is completely out of the window because of a game. Because that's the other thing about the game industry is that nothing is a guarantee. You can't just say, oh,
high risk already.
If you just make a good game, people are going to play it. There's plenty of good games that are out there that people don't play or completely overlook because they don't do A, B, C things for them. So it's like, if you're adding on
Mortals
top of that,
Avium. Just cut half their staff this week.
I mean, if that's not a good example of what we're speaking to, that's why it's not a woe is me kind of situation. It's okay, let me pull myself out of the world. Let me look at the darker crevices of the map and see, like, why, in what world does this make sense? How does this impact the devs? And if the devs are coming out and saying, hey, well, this isn't really a benefit to me, and this isn't necessarily the way to go about it. It comes across like corporate greed. It's something to bring into conversation. God Emperor Sofa King for the $5 says, I would say people need to keep this situation in mind when people are demanding companies to abandon their own custom engines to go to UE5. And again, I mean, that's also a good point. But there's also something to be said, like, in comparison to how games used to be made. There's a lot of benefits, and there can be also a lot of negatives, right? Using something that you don't necessarily own, you are always going to be at the mercy of whatever company that you're using to get whatever project done, or to get anything done. There's always going to be that.
Of course.
There's push and pull in anything.
Yeah.
But the point is just this comes across like a hindrance to what's currently been a very positive thing for devs and Unity itself, because again, if these games are selling, that churns right back into the shareholders' pockets. But if they want more money, then what can you say at that? You are at the mercy of them, and if you feel like you have to pull out because you can't afford to meet those demands, it's fair to bring it up in a talking point. And these are devs that are mentioning. This isn't, oh, the community's worried about it. I mean, we could essentially say we care less about that. I mean, you got to make a game at the end of the day.
I don't want a disruption. I don't like any real big disruptions like this to creatives. And again, Nixie, whether or not you believe devs all the time, of course not. Again, there's always questions to be asked and talked about. It's, again, this is an ongoing situation. There's been obviously lots of updates throughout the week on what's going on. Unity themselves have doubled down on what they said. Again, if it winds up not being, it winds up being a small deal and devs are just all blowing smoke right now, then so be it. That we'll is talk what about it that is. Too. Yeah, it's just a conversation that we have to have right here. We'll find out what Unity is going to do. Again, these changes were planned to go in January 2024. So, we'll see what happens through all this. Again, there hasn't been any updates since they had to cancel their forum and close down 2 of their locations due to an internal threat. Again, people were out here right away blaming the community. And then the police department's like, yeah, no, this was internal. So again, everybody likes to jump on things, but it was an ongoing situation this weekend, something to bring up for sure, that we should talk about and just let everybody know where it's at right now. So we'll see where we go from here. Period.
Absolutely. Let's see. I mean, where you want to go from here, Paul? I don't think there's much else that I have on my side of things. I
want to get your opinion on Wild Hearts here, Steele. Jeez, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I did see that they're going to
they're shutting down.
They're going to shut down the servers for it.
EA Anthem, Wild Hearts, Steel, a game that you thought had potential, right? Yeah. That you as a Monster Hunter fan, somebody who jumped into it right away. I was planning on jumping into it, and checking it out a little bit when it came to EA Play or whatever the case may be. But EA said no, we're ending support for Wild Hearts just 7 months after the game's launch. The report comes via post in the game's official Discord and on its subreddit from a moderator. Steel, bro, we were just talking about this. Good games. Again, you thought this was a good game, had potential, not like great. This wasn't like the killer app that some people, thought it could be, like the Monster Hunter competitor, but you thought it had a lot of cool ideas and potential behind it. And here it is, high risk EA Anthem. What do you think, brother?
I mean, again, I also have the standpoint that if the developers aren't able to get the game to hit or reach a wider audience, then I mean, what else can you do? Obviously, the game hasn't been doing the greatest. I haven't heard much from Wild Hearts since I've played it, since those first 90 days of the game releasing. And again, I spent a lot of time in that game. I have over 100 hours in it, and I don't regret any of that time.
I didn't know you had that much.
Yeah, I got time in that game. Yeah, I have about over 100 hours in that game, and I liked what they were presenting. It really felt like what we were missing, like maybe not necessarily Monster Hunter World per se, because of course it's Monster Hunter, man. That's an established IP that's been doing this for quite some time, who did something a little bit different, give that more of a realistic feel to it, I guess. Went through a different art style, and it was along those same lines, man. They were doing different. It felt good. It felt good to play. It was unique with the Kurikuri system, but obviously it didn't click for people. And that's the thing with when you make these games that are very similar to other games, especially with the performance issues and everything that the game had for quite some time. Also, that was a negative mark on that game that people were complaining about. It's unfortunate that there's nothing else. There's not another option, maybe for the game to come into Game Pass, maybe for Xbox to step in or some other team to step in and say, hey, let's help. We see the vision that you have with this. Let's help out with that, so we can really flesh this out. This could be our Monster Hunter. You guys keep developing this out, or maybe the team didn't have enough vision for the future of this. I don't know. It is extremely unfortunate, and maybe EA is also could be the culprit in this situation. But again, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. And EA has proven time and time again that that's one of the number one philosophies that they believe in. But it is also weird on the back half of that, also coming from EA, when you see them putting out more an update for Titanfall 2,
bro.
Which is another game that has been kind of under the radar for quite some time. But it's like, okay, why are you updating Titanfall 2 all of a sudden then? You're closing one thing.
I'm happy. If Starfield wasn't around, I'd be playing Titanfall 2. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Sorry, I wasn't interrupting you. I was just making my small comments here. Yeah, no, it is interesting, Steel. That Titanfall 2 again. Apex has been huge moneymaker for EA, but it is falling off according to a lot of people. Again, I don't play Apex. I'm not a part of that community, but I've certainly seen enough conversation around it to know that it has started to fall off a little bit. We're coming up on the anniversary. Supposedly, again, Apex takes place in the Titanfall world, right? They've said no time and time again that Titanfall 3 is not being made. Is this hint that they're going to integrate more Titanfall into Apex potentially, and therefore they want to make sure the Titanfall 2 side of things is shored up, as they know that there will be players who jump back into Titanfall 2 and kind of revive that again? Or is this more of a hint that maybe they're looking at potentially a future where Titanfall 3 does go into development and they start talking about it? So then Titanfall 2 will see that bump, naturally, and they want to make sure it's the best experience possible. Just throwing things out there against the wall, Steel. I don't know. But it is good to see that my beloved Titanfall 2 is getting updated and taken care of now after all this time, because I would not mind jumping back into Titanfall 2 at some point. I love that game to death. It's one of my favorite multiplayer experiences of all time. It's up there with probably the Bad Companies in Battlefield. Titanfall 2 is a different experience, and I loved every moment of it. It helps that I actually was pretty decent at it too. Yeah. Anytime I'm decent at a multiplayer game, I kind of like them more. I think that's natural, but I love Titanfall 2. So yeah, interesting.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's pretty much the crux of a lot of the information that we got this week. I know there's some other small things to touch on here. Jedi Survivor again, getting its update, and supposedly performances has leveled out on that game. Again, the criticism that Starfield's getting and Jedi Survivor kind of got looked over on. I mean, I agree with in a lot of ways. Again, one game's better than the other because of other reasons that don't necessarily make sense.
Because we want to support Star Wars. We want to support Respawn. The first one got nixed out of the Game of the Year awards, so we want to kind of make up for that. There's all sorts of different ways you could look at it. Jedi Survivor definitely was one of the games that was forgiven for its performance issues up front because the story's so good. I gotta give it a 9. Performance sucks, but 9. Performance sucks, but 10.
I mean, again, it was a game of the year from. It was a game of the year for me. I enjoyed what I got out of it, but I've been very honest. So, I've also been very honest in saying that I also have a computer that was able to get through a lot of that, but I also was able to still see the
different experience,
the dumb stuff. So
yeah, different experience. I'm happy for it. Again, I'll play it once it shows up on EA Play. I'll get to it again. Fallen Order didn't grab me like it grabbed so many people. I thought it was a really good game. It was a really good Star Wars game. I had fun with it. I had fun with the force powers. Again, I dropped the difficulty down a little bit, which did help my second time I started playing it again. I'll probably eventually get back to it because I did enjoy what I was playing. Cal wasn't my favorite character all time, but I didn't mind him either. So I think that there's something there, and I do want to play Survivor. And it's obviously, again, we're here. We can talk about it until we're blue in the face, and we generally do. Gaming nowadays is not what it used to be, and it's a double-edged sword. Being able to update your game later, being forgiven for issues up front has become a crutch for a lot of devs, not all devs, but a lot of devs. And we're just in the space now where this is the new norm for gaming. Games will be forgiven, given great scores. be up for game of the years, even though they were broken at launch or had major issues at launch. And they're patched 3 months later, finally, 90 days later, this finally gets the update it needs. It's a double-edged sword. It's great that it's finally fixed. It's great that when I jump into it, I'll be getting the best experience possible. This also goes to Steel's, and I give credit through and through for Steel being a main proponent of this talking point. When it comes to single-player games, if you can get rid of your FOMO,
always better later.
Always better later.
Always.
You get it cheaper and you get a better experience later. It's sad to say it that way. Again, games like Starfield for me are the few and far between where FOMO, I will buy them out the gate and I don't care. But other games, I've experienced this firsthand. Now that I am a budget gamer, I wait for sales. Every time I jump into a single player game, 6 months, a year after it launched, I'm getting the best experience ever, no matter what. And it's great. And it's fantastic. And I paid less. So it's fantastic. And that's what, it's a sad state of affairs, but that's really where we are. Devs and publishers are obviously not going to change their ways. Obviously, hopefully, they've learned lessons from situations like Cyberpunk, where you try to hide things and lie about performance on certain consoles or certain things. You're going to get slammed for it, and rightfully so. So hopefully that kind of major stuff doesn't happen. But at the same time, we are still going to see many, many examples of games like Jedi Survivor that get fixed later on. Even Starfield is going to be a better experience for people who jump in. Obviously, a 6 months, a year, that's without the mod side. I'm just talking about straight up the Bethesda side of things. They've already got this patch that sealed, that we kind of covered here. It's going to be a better experience for people who jump in later. It's sad to say, but that's kind of where we're at. So if you can get rid of your FOMO, you're going to have a much better playthrough experience. Period. Point blank. So that's just what it is. Yeah.
And again, that's always going to be up for a conversation, at least for me personally, because it's part of the reason why I've always held off on these games for so long, or why I had and I still have a skewed perspective on them. It's just, I don't get the concept on a game releasing it not being everything that it needs to be up front. Like I get it I get DLCs and expansions coming out later. I get it. Gives you a reason to come in. What I don't get is you finally getting the game where it playable in the state that you wanted it to be in 3 to 6 months later. I personally don't get that. And I can't
still,
as much as I support it from time to time, I will always speak out against it.
This is a perfect point, though, Steele. Right now, before we start wrapping up, and we'll get to this day in gaming and stuff and get everybody out of here, because there's not much. But let's bring up another one, and one I just mentioned, Steele, because this week I didn't mention it in upcoming week games, but Cyberpunk 2.0 drops this week.
Yeah,
Cyberpunk 2077 is getting a 2.0 update before their Phantom Liberty DLC, which drops next week. We'll talk about it next week. Obviously, they put out a new trailer. It is simply amazing. Idris Elba, of course, absolutely killing it. There again, CD Projekt Red is right up there. I love CD Projekt Red. I love Cyberpunk. You guys all know this. It's one of my goats. But the fact is that they're dropping 2.0, which is taking the game that's been out for 2 years. Is it 2 years or 3 years now? It's 2 years, right?
It's been 2 years. 2020.
Was it 21 or was it 2020? Or so it's 3 years.
Let me see.
My God, time flies, folks. It's 2 or 3 years, whatever Cyberpunk's been out for now. They are changing
2020.
So 3 years
later. Late 2020.
Right. 3 years later, they are updating their entire game to 2.0, which is going to completely change the experience and add things that should have been, that were talked about, that were promised day one. Again, this is a GOAT game for me. This is top 10 all time for me. Cyberpunk, the way it was.
Yes, good game.
But now it's getting a complete facelift, including many of the things that should have been originally in the game. 3 years later, bro. 3 years. This is where we're at. Anybody who held off playing Cyberpunk, I will tell you that you missed out on a great experience. I'll tell you that. I don't care. That if you're not convinced, that's fine. But the fact is, if you held off playing Cyberpunk and you're going to jump into it now because of Phantom Liberty, you're going to get a completely new, and from everything I'm hearing, because there's people playing it right now, Jez, everybody's playing it right now. They're saying this game is freaking amazing with the changes that they put into it. You're getting the best experience 3 years later after official launch. It's crazy, man. But that's where we're at. Phantom Liberty 2.0 this week. If you haven't jumped into it, or not Phantom Liberty 2.0 update this week, Phantom Liberty next week for the DLC expansion. Excuse me, they clarified it's an expansion. But 2.0 this week. If you haven't jumped into Cyberpunk, please jump into Cyberpunk. My God, with the changes they're making, I can't wait to jump back into it and probably play for another couple 100 hours. That's where I'm at after I get done with Starfield. I'm jumping back into Cyberpunk and playing Phantom Liberty. Looks amazing. But yeah, Steel's a perfect example. 3 years later, people are going to be playing the best experience.
Yeah, and that's what, and it's unfortunate because as much as me and Paul love that original experience, seeing where the game is at now is literally about to be at. Yeah. It's hard for me, especially as somebody who typically doesn't replay through games, and considering that Phantom Liberty is taking, you don't have to I want to give people clarification on this. You do not need to beat Cyberpunk 2077 to get access to the DLC. I don't know if some people are misspeaking or what's going on with that, but Phantom Liberty is supposed to be taking place somewhere in between the beginning and the end of the game.
Yes.
So it's going to be part of your entire
completely
experience.
Different side story, though. Completely different side story for the most part.
It is for sure, but you don't have to have beaten the game or anything like that. It's supposed to be part of your experience as you're playing the game. You go off and do this whole other thing that they're dropping into there. So that's one thing. But if you have not played Cyberpunk, this is the best time. Definitely going to be the best time to jump in. And again, if there's a third person mod or something out there, then I think that'll give me enough of a reason to jump back in. And we'll see from there. But again, with all the games that are releasing, it's going to be tough, man. Because again, you got Mortal Kombat 1 around the corner. Grand Blue, there's a Grand Blue Fantasy. There's another one that I'm also interested.
Forza's dropping next month.
That's going to be another one I'm going to be putting a lot of time into because I love Forza overall.
Yeah.
So it's just I don't know where I'm gonna put this in. I don't know where I'm gonna fit this in. It may be another 2 years before I can even get close to this.
Yeah. Shout out to Nixie, man. Jackie.
Shout out to Jackie.
Shout out to Jackie, man. One of the greatest side characters ever created in a video game. I will say that hand down. One of the greatest partners you could ever have in a video game. I can't wait to get back and play that part with Jackie, man. Jackie was just so cool, bro. Just so cool. Shout out to Jackie. Every time, man. Just talk about impactful games. I know it's not the same for everybody with Cyberpunk, but for Steel and I, that game will be with us for the rest of our lives. It'll be something that I go back and think about constantly when I think about my all-time favorite games and what they meant to me, but emotionally, there's very few games that hit me emotionally. Cyberpunk is one of those handful of games that legitimately hit me where I just randomly think about moments in that game. Like I do. That's how great CD Projekt Red did with that game for me. Again, not for everybody. I know there's some people out there that disagree, but for me, that was the case. Oh God, I love that game. Yeah,
same. I agree. I felt the exact same way. And again, I would love to be able to go back, but I'm bad about that. It is what it is. It's a personal thing for me. And we have other content to play. You gotta make a choice. Life isn't always as simple. And I wish I had time to just sit there and play games all day. You're good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is going to be the best time for us to get into our This Day in Gaming segment. We're going to go ahead and start winding things down. And if you're new here, This Day in Gaming is a segment where we go about 30 years into gaming history because gaming is art and should be treated as such. So again, this may bring in some memories for you. The biggest thing is seeing how the games that have released previously and compare them to kind of where we're at today. For me, it just kind of helps me be grateful, gives me that perspective that sometimes gets out of whack because you get so used to games looking at some particular way, being a particular way, and then when you go back and you're like, damn, some of these games that I used to play and the thing like the trivial things that you used to go to, some of the frustrations. I feel like at least again for me, it helps me put things in perspective and be a little bit more grateful and for what we have today. So let's get into it. This day in gaming. All right. So this day in gaming, we're starting in 1982. Bog disappear. And shout out to Dreamcast guy. I believe it was you that asked, hey, Steel, can I be a guest next week? You know, unfortunately, Dreamcast guy, me and Pong have started this show more so based off of what we are bringing to the table as far as a show overall. The first guest that we're gonna have on, I can let y'all be a guest on that. There's something that we have to work out in the background. Life gets busy, and I just haven't made it work yet. But it is something that is lining up. It's our Saturday Morning Brothers. Let y'all guys guess who that is. But we're definitely working on some things. But those are probably going to be our first guests that we end up bringing on. Shout out to everyone at KSante. Much love to our Saturday Morning Brothers. All right. 1982. Maybe you like to be on a poll, maybe not. Hopefully you weren't in the arcade on a poll. But in arcade games, you had a game called Pole Position that was released. You ever played Pole Position?
Kidding me? You know how many quarters went into pole position back in the day, brother? Come on, man.
Whoa!
The classic. Classics.
Did you
Sorry,
get
I had grandkids knocking at the door.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
Then in 1985, on the Amiga and Commodore 64, you had Ultima 4: Quest of the Avatar.
What was I talking about,
Dragon
Steel? Ultima, baby. Listen to this. Oh, my God. Again, Dollar Store Oracle right here. I talked about Ultima a couple weeks ago, and Todd Howard talked about an interview. Ultima is a classic. In fact, Steel. In fact, sir, that's the other part of that was funny as hell. On GOG,
yeah,
they were giving away Ultimas.
Really?
So I went and grabbed them. Yeah, Ultimas were free. Some of the Ultimas were free, so I went and grabbed them.
Damn.
I got them. Yeah,
that's interesting,
buddy.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's awesome as shit, dude. Oh my God, I was so excited when I saw that. I was like, what? Yeah. Dollar Store Oracle right here. That's all I'm saying.
Dixie says, need a Pong, Steel, KSI to the Evermore podcast. You call it the Fantastic Four. You stupid, Dix. that would be fun. It'd be something we could do maybe once a month or something like that. Okay, well, we've been talking about it for some time, and we may end up getting
forever.
And again, it's life, man. Life gets busy, and the fact that me and Pong are able to get together, it's just make this unique, and things work out the way that they do. We'll make it work. We'll end up making it work at some point. All right. Then in 93, arcade games released Fatal Fury Special.
Shout out to Fatal Fury. Oh man, one of the OGs. Not enough love for Fatal Fury. Good stuff.
Yeah, Gene. I don't know how much Pong would like that. Hard Eight's a funny dude. I don't agree with a lot of the shit that he be saying or the angles he be coming from, but he is a lot of what I'm used to as far as like the angles people come from, as far as when it comes to gaming and everything. And no, he's not for the faint of heart. You got to have a strong mentality, and he typically has a lot of people that join his shit that don't have that. So
yeah,
and again,
I protect my energy.
You gotta protect your peace. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I just got no time. Hey, if Steel wants to do a show with him someday, I'll back
I
up.
don't know about all that. I'm good. He's funny. His own show is funny sometimes, but I'm good. We don't come at this. We don't see things at the same level as far as how I like to look at the industry, right? So, and there's nothing wrong with having that selfish mentality. I have a lot of that too. You know what I mean? And I say that all the time with how I approach games and whatnot. But nonetheless, then in 2002, the Game Boy Advance released Castlevania: Harmony of Dissonance.
Shout out
to Castlevania.
Castlevania
is always going to be a classic.
I want to see a new 3D Castlevania.
I want to,
bro. Yep. I want them to go back to that. I actually enjoy them.
It'd be really dope to see.
That was so dope. Yeah, it would be.
Nowadays, really dope to see. Oh yeah, Castlevania will be. That'd be the vampire game that we need. 100%. So I'm actually surprised that nobody was like, "Yay! Now it's time to bring Castlevania to life." So anyway,
Shout out
outside
to you,
of side
OCD. I like the Dreamcast guy stuff. Shout out to you,
you stupid, yeah, you stupid OCD. Then in 2002, PlayStation 2 released Kingdom Hearts. Shout out to Kingdom Hearts.
Never was able Kingdom Hearts. I enjoyed what little bit I did play of Kingdom Hearts. I'm not gonna lie, it was cool because of how well they pulled off the Disney characters. It was cool from that aspect, and I didn't mind that so much. So I thought it was different enough, and it was fun. So
facts. Then in 2003, Game Boy Advance released Bolt Died. The Sun is in Your Hands.
Okay, all right.
Shout out to Bolt Died.
That's cool.
Then in 2003, PC, PlayStation, and PlayStation 2, Xbox released NASCAR Thunder 2004.
Shout out to Fuzzy, one of the few people that I do know that plays NASCAR games. So again, never been into the circle racing, but hey, all right, NASCAR has been around. They need a really good quality NASCAR game. It's been a while. So yeah. Shocking that they have. They still make some, but yeah. I like to see a full-fledged NASCAR, like really decent budget wise, and see what they could do with it for the NASCAR fans out there, because I think there is a place for it. Not me.
I'd rather see like Forza Motorsport kind of dive deeper into that, right? To give people an additional option where maybe it's a game mode or an expansion or something for people.
Yeah, expansion, like a DLC. That would be pretty cool.
They have a lot of those elements, fuel, tires, all that good stuff. I think that'd be cool.
Yep.
Way to kind of expand it out. Then in 2003, Game Boy Advance released Shining Soul.
Shining Soul. Shout out to Shining series. Always will have a place in my heart. Love Shining series.
Then in 2003, Macintosh PC released Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy.
So damn good, bro.
Never played it.
Could use a remake. Could use, again, on some of the older Star Wars games. I know that we're getting some remasters, which is fantastic. Like Dark Forces, I'm looking forward to that remaster. But man, the Jedis, if they could remake those from the ground up, ooh, boy, would that be a good time.
It would be.
Good stuff. Sure. Good storytelling too.
Then in 2003, GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox released The Simpsons Hit and Run.
A lot of people love Hit and Run.
It was like next level of Crazy Taxi, essentially.
Yeah.
It was a fun game. I didn't get into it either like that.
I wasn't a Simpsons guy, so I just never got into Simpsons. So
that's fair. I liked Simpsons more than I liked what's that, South Park. Person.
Oh boy! Wow! No.
I never saw the appeal, but anyway. Then in 2003, the Temple on PC, the Temple of Elemental Evil.
Okay.
All right. Then in 2005, PlayStation 2 and Xbox released Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. What a great fucking game.
Monks.
What a great fucking game. That was
never got into it, but I know a lot of people that had a lot of good time with it. So yeah,
it was good. Oh, was Hit and Run more like GTA? Am I thinking about a different game? I thought they had like that Crazy Taxi type shit where you were like dropping people off and shit in that Simpsons game. Maybe it was just a game mode. That's just within that game. That was the only thing that I remember from. Maybe I'm thinking about a different one.
No, MG Insane, because Fred Gula came in here too and thought it was the same as you with the Crazy Taxi one, and MG Insane, no, it's the other Simpsons game. So,
oh, okay. So yeah, maybe I'm thinking about the wrong one. Appreciate the clarification. Again, some of them kind of blend together. I didn't realize that there was more like that. Again, it's not like I put the most time into there. Road Rage Simpsons. I don't remember that title at all.
Okay.
But, okay. Simpsons Road Rage was like Crazy Taxi. Yeah. Okay. Damn. Well, I guess that would make more sense for sure. Then in 2008, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 released Armored Core 4 Answer.
Shout out
to Armored Core 4 Answer is definitely a classic. And Armored Core 6 is definitely a GOAT as far as Armored Core goes for me. So. Then in 2008, PC released Crisis Warhead. Shout out to Crisis, burning computers alive.
Yep.
Then in 2008, PC released Mount and Blade.
Yes, good game. Mount Blade 2 is on Game Pass. I had it downloaded. What came out? It started the year. It was earlier in the year when Mount Blade 2 came out, and we got like Hogwarts. I think Hogwarts toasted me from playing Mountain Blade, and then it's been one game after another. I've got it downloaded. I want to play it so bad. I started playing it. It is right up my alley. It looks so damn cool, especially Mountain Blade 2. I tried Mountain Blade 1 and it's so dated that I was like, ugh,
yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah, but Mountain Blade 2, oh, bro, you get big giant battles with it's over 100 people full, it's close in action. It's not like RTS. So you got like over 100, I think maybe it might be 300 people on the screen at one time in hand-to-hand combat, mounted combat, freaking, it looks so damn cool. I want to hop into it. You got to build up your army. You got to go around recruiting people and build your own kingdom out and stuff. It's pretty dope, man.
Yeah, that sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Then in 2008, PC released Pure. That was like that ATV motorbike kind of thing. If I recall that correctly. Let's see a little image there, but shout out to Pure. Then in 2008, PC released Warhammer Online, Age of Reckoning.
Hell yeah!
Shout out to Warhammer.
Yep. Got that in my backlog too.
Then in 2010, the PSP released Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's Tag Force 5.
Nice. Shout out to
I never really got into the racing aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where they're like racing and dueling at the same time. I thought it was interesting, but it was just like, okay. Then in 2014, Android and iOS released Beach Buggy Racing. Shout out for those who got into that.
Yep.
Then in 2014, PlayStation 3 released Fairy Fencer F.
Fairy Fencer? Oh, actually a decent little JRPG.
Nice.
Yep.
Then in 2014, 3DS released Theater Rhythm, Final Fantasy Curtain Call.
Oh, yeah. I remember that game. Rhythm-based game.
Oh, okay.
A really cool aesthetic to it. Did it have like puppet? I think it was puppet style.
It looks like
characters. It, yeah. I'm not even looking, so I'm just guessing off the top of my head what I remember. But yeah, interesting looking title, but rhythm based. Not happening.
Okay. Then in 2021, Macintosh, Nintendo Switch, PC released Eastward.
Okay.
Then in 2021, in Japan, PlayStation 4 released Neptunia Cross Senran Kagura Ninja Wars.
Neptunia, baby, let's go. Another underrated game. Just lots of nice fans. Again, Steel, that's the one with the girls that are representing of each console. It's freaking fantastic. It's fun as hell. I don't care what anybody says. They've made so many Neptunia games too. God, it's so cool. I actually have to pick up a couple for my PS3 that I just got Steel.
I heard about that. Yeah, I heard about that. You got the Fat Boy, OG Fat Boy.
I got to see if it works first. But yeah,
it's gonna be interesting.
Got the backwards compatible Fat Boy, which is really nice because I got Metal Gear Solid 4 sitting down right here.
It's a rare console to get too.
Yes, sir, it is. What a nice Friday it was.
Yeah. Then in 2022, Japan released on the PlayStation 5 Wolong Fallen Dynasty. Okay.
Yep.
And I saw MG says Wolong Fallen Dynasty, a buried game in a stacked 2023 year. Yeah, I've been seeing Wolong get a lot of negative critique on it. I thought the game was solid for what it was. I had a lot of fun time with it. The DLC, when I went back and played it, it pulled me back into the experience. Now, is it as good as some of the other Souls games? Is it as good as Nioh, for an example, that I jumped into for a bit? No. But I like the parry system in there. There's a lot of things in that game that I enjoyed about it and I felt the game was good. I enjoyed my experience with Wolong. So yeah. So there's that. Then for whatever reason, I don't know why Lies of P is on here, maybe because of early access, but 2023 in Japan, maybe just released early in Japan, who knows? On PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Is
really
Lies of P on PlayStation 4?
I don't think so. I thought that was current gen only, wasn't it? No, it is on PlayStation 4.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting.
Xbox One as well.
So, okay, there's probably like 30 FPS on there or something like that.
Probably, yeah. Lower res, obviously.
But yeah, so Lies of P, man. In case anybody's interested in that, maybe it came out early in Japan. Who knows? Maybe they're just trying to referencing early access. As far typically they don't do that. So it's really really interesting. Lies of P, I am hyped for, and an MG. I'm definitely going to keep in mind doing a live stream for that because it's going to be dope. Again, extremely interested in playing Lies of P. Like I mentioned earlier, I like the Pinocchio story. Their twist on it seems to be really dope. So I want to see how that turns out.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was your This Day in Gaming segment. With that being said, I want to thank everybody for joining us on episode 119 of Living Split Screen. 120 is going to be in the saddle next weekend, and we're going to be hitting people over the head. I got to start getting my daughter ready and set up for her to get out of here. So, but nonetheless, I want to appreciate everybody for coming through today and you guys enjoying yourself, hopefully. And anybody on the audio side of things, again, you're probably going to get this a little bit later. I wasn't able to record today's episode, but that's fine. I'll download it off of YouTube and get everything uploaded. So apologies on that if you end up listening to this a little bit later than you would normally, but I greatly appreciate you for tuning in either way. With that, you can find me, Steel Rain. That T is a 7 everywhere. Google's probably the easiest place if you want to try to find all the different locations that I frequent. But mainly the streets of Twitter, or X as it is now known, and the Xbox ecosystem, since it just kind of works so well in tandem between the phone, my PC, and the actual console itself. And we'll catch you guys in space in Starfield currently. And for those who want to throw some hands on Mortal Kombat, I'm still sitting on the fence. I'm not going to get early access for it, but I am planning on trying to get it when it does full release. But again, with Lies of P also dropping that same time, Lies of P's in Game Pass, so there's a benefit there. But with me also playing Starfield and me being a guy that likes to play, I get really deep in some of these games. I don't know. I think I might have to balance myself out. I might have to sacrifice Mortal Kombat if I am going to jump into Lies of P, at least until I beat Lies of P, because again, it's only going to take one playthrough. So, but yeah, that's kind of me, what my expectations are. So hopefully you guys can definitely look out for that. I'll do that on Living Split Screen if I do end up going live with Lies of P. But Pong, get the beautiful people out of here. And again, another amazing episode with you, my brother.
Absolutely. Grandkids are running the wife ragged.
I can imagine.
This was not good timing on that part. She's up there alone. So yeah, I'm going to get out of here too. But no, what a freaking awesome show. Great Saturday. Again, energy level throughout everywhere right now is really high because of the quality and quantity of games that we are currently getting. No matter where you're playing and what you're playing, there is something absolutely just ridiculously fantastic, even more so than usual out there for you right now. And you can feel that around everything that's being talked about. I mean, again, we haven't had ABK updates or anything Steel for weeks on end now, man, which is crazy. There was minor things going on, but it's about gaming right now. It's about everything we're enjoying, and especially for you and I here at Starfield, and for the foreseeable future for me at Starfield, I am going to jump into Wizardry. I was not planning on playing any other game, but I am going to check out Wizardry. So you might see some screenshots of Wizardry and some shout outs to Digital Eclipse about what I'm playing, because again, it caught me off guard and out of the blue, and that nostalgia kicked in. But otherwise, you'll be seeing more Starfield, obviously videos, game clips, and screenshots, because I've been practicing what I preached a few weeks ago when I said, hey, let's fight against negativity by posting good stuff about what you're enjoying in Starfield. And it's working, whether people heard me or not. It's just naturally happening. There's so many posts about Starfield. I've seen more engagement this week from Starfield posts than I have any other game that I've posted before, except for maybe Cyberpunk initially right out the gate. But even beyond that, just people loving this game through and through, like I am and like Steel is. It's just a fantastic experience. So whatever you're playing, enjoy it. Pongsaw on X, formerly known as Twitter, Pongsaw on the Xbox. You guys know that as well. And then tonight, of course, you can find me on the Shop Podcast, PTK Blam's channel, the Shop, the best way to end your Saturday night, along with Fuzzy Belvedere, myself, and I know we do have a couple guests tonight, and I don't remember who they are. I just lost it. Oh, no, wait, we have one guest. Oh, we got Game Pass Daily on. Retri, I think, is going to be on tonight.
Oh, nice.
So we're going to have an awesome conversation tonight. PTK is in love with Starfield as well. It caught him off guard. He's not the Bethesda dude either. And he is absolutely loving it. But we're going to talk a lot of stuff tonight. So join us for the Shop Podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. And then next week, it starts all over again. Shout out to Boom. Shout out to Double Barrel Gaming. Shout out to what he does for this community. Shout out to 5 days a week, putting out content. The dude is amazing, incredible. So I always give him his flowers. Xbox Factor Podcast every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Be there. And then, of course, Thursday night, it's PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM, Fun Speculation, channel, network, whatever you want to call it. We'll be there. We'll have a lot to talk about this week, I'm sure, as well. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. And then, of course, Friday nights, it's Xbox Ultimate. That's right. Never know who's going to be there from the fam, but we always have a good time. We laugh a lot. We talk a lot of gaming. So be there every Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, Xbox Ultimate Fun Speculation Network. And then, of course, right back here, like Steele said, episode 120. Love them even numbers. And next week, going to be a good Saturday right here with my brother from another Steel Rain, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Golden age of gaming, folks. It's incredible. Hey, I look at my wish list now on Steam and I look at my wish list on Xbox. It's absolutely unstoppable right now. Golden age is here, folks. Get out there, play what you love what you play. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to y'all real soon. Steel, get us out of here, brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, much love. Catch you on next week on episode 120 of Living Split Screen. Y'all stay safe, have a good weekend, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.